Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Charles Derrick.
This is J-Rob.
And this is Bringing the Noise. So yeah, we're super excited to have now our friends on here. I've been talking to Joe a good bit and Stacey a little bit here and there about some things and actually some other podcasts and about, we were playing the Dukes of Country. We were playing in Kentucky and Joe had hit us up on our messenger, I believe it was. I believe he hit us up and said that I think I'm come see you guys tonight. And I was thinking, well, that'd be cool, but I was also thinking, a lot of people come on there and say they're going to come see us, never show up. So whatever. Well, he came the same night. Joni Lee, Twitty Conway's daughter, came and saw us. Him and Stacey both came that same night. It was ironic, very ironic. But when he got there, he was right in the middle, of the front of the stage up there. And I saw him when he walked up. And I was like, oh, man, there's Joe. And I think I said something maybe over the microphone, if I ain't mistaken, about you standing there. And y'all, my memory's horrible, by the way. So this is great that I can remember a lot of this. But he watched the show, the entire show, stuck around afterwards. Joni Lee stuck around, and she talked to us for a while. Then he talked to us for a while, and it was just like, man. And I remember looking over at J-Rob and some of the others in the band and saying, how weird is it that both of them came on the same night? I mean, we usually don't have a special guest, show up, much less two very special guests in the same night like that. It was very cool. And we talked with Joe after that and just shared some John Schneider stories. And I think Stacey was off winning a Corvette or something in the casino.
She may own Oak Grove now.
Mrs. Oak Grove. I don't know.
He said, do you want to go to Oak Grove? I want to check out these Dukes of Country. And I said, shoot, yeah, I want to check them out too. I was like, anything I can do to get to the casino? Because he usually ain't the first one. So I was like, yeah, I want to check them out too, which I'm glad we did.
Yeah, you and Joni should car ride. I think y'all probably go up there.
She stays up there. Yeah. Joni goes all the time. She's always texting and we talk, still periodically all the time. And she loves Oak Grove. But they, we shared a lot of stories and it kind of built a relationship and kind of been talking ever since. And we're glad to have them on the show.
Joe. Just two good old boys, wouldn't change if they could, fighting the system like two modern day Robin Hoods, making their way the only way they know how. That's just a little bit more than the law will allow. I'm a good old boy, you know my mama loves me, but she don't understand. They keep showing my hands and not my face on TV. We love you, Waylon.
you're gonna find yourself somewhere, somehow. Blue as the sky, sunburnt and lonely, sipping tea in a bar by the roadside. And don't you let those other boys fool you. Gotta love those afro hairdos. Maybe sometimes. And ain't no one to cry for me, and the fish all gone out on a spree. When I get those deep river blues. Play it, Joe.
Hence your shirt.
Yes, that's why I have that on. But like I say, we're from right in the middle of where all that started, you know, and it began in, you know, Drakesboro, Kentucky, and Beach Creek and through there in the poor coal mining communities and so on. That's what people had to do. You know, they played guitar instead of having all the things that we have now. That a lady actually started the style named Alice DeArmond Jones, and she would play more, you would call it Mother Maybelle style, Maybelle Carter, like, you know, where you'll hear that like Wildwood Flower and those type things. Well, Kennedy Jones came along and started putting a little bit of thumb with it. And Kennedy, and I have a recording of this, was the first person to put a thumb pick on. He had played a dance one night and was playing with his bare thumb, and for like 4 hours and wore a blister on his thumb. He had to play the next weekend, so there was a little dry goods and music store and an all-purpose, you know, outside of Central City, Kentucky. And he went in there and said, you know, let me see those picks. They had a jar of something that looked similar to this thumb pick there. And he took them down. He told the person, so let me see a guitar. And they said, well, Kennedy, those guitars are not for that kind of pick. He said, I know. He said, but I want to try something. And he, in this recording, he says it wasn't Chet Atkins, it wasn't Merle Travis, it was Kennedy Jones, the first man to play with a thumb pick. And that was Alice DeArmond Jones' son. And if you look now, you watch people like Brent Mason, Johnny Highland, a lot of those, they're using thumb picks. A lot of your national players are using thumb picks. And even though they may not do, even though Johnny and Brent can do it, that alternating style, they borrow a lot of things from that. But they were also heavily influenced by Jerry Reed. But Kennedy, you know, Kennedy and Mose Rager got together and played a lot. Mose was seeing what Kennedy was doing. Mose took it a little bit further. You know, Kennedy started to put a little, you know, a little bit of that alternating pattern in it. Merle took it further, Mose took it further, and so on. And there's a pretty big story. And then there were some blues players, you know, like Amos Johnson, Arnold Schultz, that brought back a lot of these bluesy, a lot of these just real ragtimey bluesy chords. And that's kind of what it started getting modeled after, was a lot of the ragtime piano things. But, you know, Merle really laid in, you know, you can take a song with that style, and House of the Rising Sun is one I use a lot. It's designed to sound like there's more than one person playing guitar. When we learn House of the Rising Sun, you learn, you know, like that, or is the proper way. Well, you can take that rhythm and you play the words to the song with your fingers. So you're playing a bass and a rhythm pattern with your thumb. So, you know, a lot of songs like that, but, you know, that's what it was designed for, was so you could accompany yourself while you were playing. You play a bass and a rhythm pattern with your thumb and the melody with your fingers. And it just kept evolving and kept evolving. And you have people now like Tommy Emmanuel, Doyle Dykes. Those guys are world class. We have some young players, Parker Hastings, a great friend of ours that comes up here a lot. A young man named Caleb Coots. He is mentored by his grandfather, Eddie Pennington, who's known now as probably the closest thing that you'll hear to Merle Travis. Eddie just listened devoutly to Merle Travis's style, and he sounds just like him. And Caleb at 17 years old sounds just like him as well, so it's neat. There's a long history there, and we can get into that some more later or wherever the conversation leads. So
J-Rob, I know it seems like Joe does all the talking, but let me tell you something. When I called him and I was talking about Joni Lee, Stacey, me and Stacey went to town.
Found some common ground.
I don't talk about the Thumb-pickin stuff because I don't know all the true details and stuff, so I don't want to get anything wrong. So
Hey, me neither.
Yeah, me either.
none of that.
How weird is this on our headsets? Like where the headset is, you can see through it. Like you
It's
see the
re-
room
it's
through
really
our
weird.
headset.
Disappears on
Yeah.
our end. Like if you turn your head or something, it's like just disappears. So
I know if I put my hand up there, it's like gone. That is so weird.
I got to not look at it. I gotta get frustrated in it. Maybe my bedroom is just a better backdrop.
well, yours where your headset's going around your hat and everything, you can see a little bit of the regular background.
Yeah.
But you can't tell what it is.
You can see
It looks
the
like
wall.
See, if I take it off, it'll.
here we go. Oh, you ain't got no. Oh, I was gonna say you ain't got no ears.
Yeah, there they are.
There they are.
He has ears. He got his ears on. Come on.
That's the only way I can hear y'all.
Yeah.
With the headset, the way we got it set up, just so you don't hear the feedback, over the speakers.
Right. And you can hear us fine, and you've got plenty of what you need on it.
Yeah, sure, man.
Okay.
That's great.
Yeah, it's
Good
totally
deal.
fine. Yeah. Well, I want to give y'all a little introduction, and just kind of set the pace of the podcast, like I was telling you, and then we can just go to town and talk about whatever y'all want to talk about. Yeah.
Sounds great.
We're extremely excited to have y'all on, and to get a totally, just him playing right there, J-Rob, it was like, you can tell it's just not from here,
Sure.
So it's going to be really cool to get that other side of the fence up there, and I was watching earlier a video of them two, and Stacey was singing Simple Man. They were doing Simple Man. And I was thinking, boy, I wished I had $1 for every time I've done that.
Yeah.
But it sounded fantastic. Y'all
I'm
sounded
sure.
great together,
Yeah, I usually say I'm not singing Wagon Wheel unless I get tipped real good because I'm so tired.
Yeah,
Why?
I got kind of burnt out on
Two
playing
biscuits,
that myself.
you got to do them or something. I don't know why, but you got to do them.
Right.
You
You
know,
know,
how
it
to-
was-
If I play a acoustic show or something, and the first person that asks for it's my mom, and it's like I can't tell her no.
No, you got to do it. Well, we were at a show. Are you already introducing us? Or are we
Hey,
still
it don't
in the-
matter. Hey, this is y'all go
Okay.
ahead.
So we played a gig on Saturday, and some of our friends came, and we always talk about the reason why we were doing Simple Men is because me and Joe do a medley where we just combine pretty much like 4 of the great Snyder.
Well,
Lord
those two-
have
those
mercy.
two.
No, it ain't Snyder. Skinner tunes. And we just did some 4 of them. Anyway, Simple Man's in there. But the reason why is because every time you go and play a gig, is it not somebody hollering out, that drunk at the bar hollering out Freebird?
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
It don't matter if you're playing in New York or down in Texas, somebody's going to holler out
Right.
Freebird. Well, I have you know that one of Joe's friends, it was so funny. He stood up and had this big banner that he had made that said Freebird on it and had Go Dale number 3. So I had to sing it because, if you're going to go make a banner and bring it out to the
Yeah.
bar, you got to have to sing it.
Yeah, he went through
But-
that.
Make it worth his effort.
It never fails that somebody's hollering out Freebird, but we just decided to do, it comes out with Simple Man, and then Give Me 3 Steps, and then Freebird, and then of course Sweet Home Alabama. But we just do that medley, so that's probably what you were watching. But yeah, those are definitely when you do music out, you kind of get the same requests over and over and over. But I guess that's what makes them great, and people are used to sing along. So
Sure.
you do whatever the crowd says, what they want, because that keeps you coming back and that makes good tips. So you got to do that.
Oh, we know. We know.
Oh yeah, y'all are very, very familiar with it. So
Well, and now the good thing is with this show that we're doing is we get to go and just do that classic country stuff. And we still get like in a bar or something. J-Rob would tell you there was a girl that came up to him and said, do y'all do any Luke Bryan? He's like, oh my God, this girl has no clue.
Right.
No, because they don't know what classic country is. That's
No,
why
they don't.
these millennials are asking for the Luke Bryan and stuff, and you're like, you don't even know what music is.
They know they like it, but they
They like it when you play it because their pappy played it, but they've
Yeah.
never even sit down and listened to it.
now
Right.
And-
They're not exactly scholars of the genre.
Talks like this.
Hey,
We don't
hey,
do Luke Bryan, I don't reckon. We don't do those. We do. Joe and I do a lot of classic country too, but a lot of the older rock, a little bit, classic rock,
Sure.
and then a little bit of the soul, like the some Put Your Records On and Give Me One Reason and Man in the Mirror and stuff like that. We try to find things that we can turn into acoustic that you would not think would be acoustic, you know.
Yeah.
So, you
There you
know, and the show we're getting ready to do at Oak Grove, like you guys played on the main stage, you know, we're going to be doing some old classic country and then some classic rock, you know, of course, Sugar on Me and Mama, I'm Coming Home by Ozzy, and, you know, just those favorites that if we like the music, that's what I always think about. If I like the music and I enjoy singing it, people is going to enjoy me singing it because I'm going to get into it because I like it. I like the choice of music. You know, you have to love what you're putting out because if you
Right.
don't, it's just a robot at that point and no one's going to have a good time, you know. So that's the biggest thing is just have a good time and enjoy the music you're making because it makes a whole lot of difference. I mean, it really does.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys, y'all show, listen, I didn't get to watch much of it, but I did hear it. But every time I come over, I had to take a video and send my kid, our daughter, because she's not old enough to get in the main part yet. You know, she's got a couple more years. But every one of y'all's songs was something that you could relate to and you wanted to sing.
Yep.
You wanted to sing them. And you guys have put together, it really doesn't even matter how tight you are or what your voices sound like. That doesn't even,
But they
an
are
experience.
good, by the way.
No, I'm saying it doesn't matter because we're hooked on the experience already. You know what I'm saying? Like you've already sucked people in with the costumes and that intrigues people to say, I'm going to have to check these people out. And then when they get there, it doesn't matter because you've already started with a couple of songs that we know. So you've already hooked us in and we've already started singing and then your crowd participation, you
That's
keeping
great.
the crowd interested. I mean, I'm telling you, your show is top notch because of the whole experience. So what you guys set out to do, you definitely have done it. And
Thank
so
you
I
very
recommend you go to anybody.
Thank
I'm going
you
to
so
have to take
much.
a minute and go get our dog because it sounds like she's up there and the hogs are getting her. I've never heard so much crying.
She's at the top.
I'll be right back.
She's at the top of the steps, just like I want down there. Now,
Come on, honey.
while she's doing that, if we do get going in a direction and that's not where you want to go at that point, you're not going to make us mad if you're like, hey, let's go back to that in a little bit and kind of stay on track. So
No, man, we usually don't do that. I mean, I let folks go and where they want to go and go as long as they want to go in that direction. But then if I got something I'm wanting to ask, or if he's got something he wants to ask, we'll ask it, you know, and may change the subject. But after I feel like you've said everything you wanted to say on that subject, I'm not going to be rude.
We try to keep these things loose, man, and not really like a structured interview or anything. So it's just wherever the feeling takes you, you know.
y'all got the right folks for that. So
Listen, he's usually the player and he plays the music
You got it. Never mind. Go ahead.
and everything else, but I'm usually the talker. I'm the ones that gets the crowd involved and all
Gotta
that.
have
But
both.
he bought me an instrument because I told him I needed to play something because it was just me and him. He bought me them shakers, you know, little egg
Yes.
shakers. And I have tried to play them, but I'll tell you the problem. I have rhythm, but I can't keep my nose out of people's business because people watch too much when I sing. And so I'm worried about what everybody else is doing and I lose track of everything like I'm supposed to be doing. So I can't do the
It can
shakers.
happen.
I'm just going to have to be a singer because I can't people watch and play an instrument.
Right.
So
You know, that's really,
here.
you know what? It's funny you say that because we talk about it all the time. Me and Tanya talk about it all the time. It is hard, especially when you're putting on a show, to stay focused on certain things and, and get your mind where you really need to have your mind, because, and I call it getting lost in the spotlight. You know, somebody may be trying to get your attention in the front row. Somebody, you may see something going on over there that's interesting, and all of a sudden you're not thinking about, you know, maybe this song or this verse coming up or whatever it may be, you know, and then you're like, oh man, hold on, whoa, I need to get back on track here. I'm on stage and a whole bunch of other folks are watching me, you know.
Hey, I've missed cues coming back in because of that, because like somebody might be dancing over there and I'm watching, or you know, it's hard to do because when you are the center stage and you are performing and you're having to watch, like, say this person over here is like dancing or whatever, you want to make them part of your show. So I always call them out. I'm like, oh, I see you, girl. But then I have to look over here and somebody else. And by the time that I've made friends with everybody, I mean, I'm already messed up and not coming back in on the song. But you know what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's about making everybody feel like they're part of your show. And that's what people want, is interaction with whoever is entertaining. They want to feel like they were part of the show, or like welcomed into the show by participation. Whether they want to or not, they'll participate.
The part that gets me with that more than anything is the beginning of songs. Like, we're like, all right, we're about to play this or whatever, and you know, the drummer's already kicked something off, and somebody immediately will come right up to me and, hey, you know, and I'm like, I can't hear. I got InEars in, and like they want me like, y'all hold on, wait, let's stop this song. This guy's got to ask me something, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm not want to be rude to him. But then again, like, come on, I gotta play. I'll try to talk to you later or something.
It's like, can you sign this for my mama? I mean, she loves y'all.
Right, they're in the middle of this song.
Right in the big solo, and here they come. They're like, sign this, and you're like, really?
I know you're not too busy right now, but you know,
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's hard. It's hard to stay focused, but you know, I'd rather people like interrupt me and stuff, because that makes me feel like they're having a good time because they want to, you know, be involved. And so you kind of
want to be approachable too.
That's the good thing about playing live and having a live band with you, is that you can just start and stop whenever you want, and you can just start over. You can play a whole nother chorus if people want to sing along. So it has an advantage and it has a disadvantage, actually. So you're either ready when they start or you're not, or you can just start over. So, you know, I don't know.
When you're entertaining, you're expected to turn your ego, you know, you're supposed to have no ego off stage, right? Zero.
Right.
But when you get on stage, you're supposed to amplify yourself. So turn your ego up, you know, times 10 and entertain. But then the minute they talk to you or something from the stage, you need to be as, you know, as nice as possible. So it's a battle, and it's like going hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold, you know.
Well, when I take a break, when we play at the casino, when we take a break, like people want to talk to me and stuff, like when we take our little break, and I do try to visit just a little touch, but usually my breaks, I just go get something to drink, and I try to just go to the bathroom and even just sit there for a minute, because I am trying to stay in the zone of performing, because it's a whole entertainment aspect when you're actually singing, because like Joe doesn't sing. So therefore I'm singing all of the material. He plays, so he's got a big part of his own. But as far as me, I'm the one that has to carry the personality, as far as the attitude that I have to bring, how much I put out is what they're going to put out. And so I find myself, if I stop during a break and talk to people, like visit, that I get thrown off with just regular Stacey, if that makes sense. And like, we talk about kids or what we're going to do after or whatever. And I kind of have to and I don't need to be rude, you know, like I don't want to pass you and be rude. I'm not being rude. It's kind of like, if you're performing in a play, you take an intermission, but you got to still stay in character backstage. You know what I'm saying? Because you're fixing to go right back out and be the prince or the princess. Mm-hmm. So you got to stay that way. And I don't think people that don't entertain don't understand that. It's like, it's a show, it's a gig, it's your job. So I've got to stay focused.
That's where green rooms are invaluable. where you can take
Yes.
that break and go and hang with the band until you get done, and then go and interact and give them what time you can,
There is an element to this when you entertain at your home and you have people at your house and, you feel exhausted after it's all over with, because you're like, man, we had to put, you had to be in entertainment mode. You had to entertain them. You had to give them the best version of you and your family and your home that you possibly could. You know what I mean? Same way at a show. And I don't care if you're a bar band. I don't care if you're a band that's got, hits on the radio, or show band, or whatever it is you are. You still have to entertain and give a little bit, a lot of yourself to people on that stage, and invite them in. And you're not able to just be regular Stacey sitting over there at the bar and not having to entertain. You're having to entertain. And even if you're not jumping off the speakers and Van Haling it, you're giving a part of your soul. When you sing and you do that stuff, and you have to smile and you have to look at people, you have to, be the certain way. It takes a lot out of folks, mentally.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And that's
I know.
It's funny you said that, because I told Joe, because tomorrow I'm going to head down to our Merle Travis Center, which is a music center we were in. We've talked to you guys about coming.
Yeah.
And it's actually county owned, but we just caretake it to keep it open. But, so the show that's coming up, it's a 3-hour show, and we've picked all the songs. We only got 2 slow songs. And I mean, when I talk about slow, they're like Home Sweet Home and stuff like that. Still not terribly slow, but most of it is high energy, a lot of medleys. So and I am the only singer there except for one song being sung. So what you're saying, it makes sense, because I told him, I said, I'm going to start tomorrow. I'm going to go down to the center. I'm going to do our show on the stage. I'm going to walk the stage. I'm going to do the same movements that I probably will do that day. I'm going to get my stamina built up. I'm going to make sure my voice is ready. And people don't realize that you have to put so much work into it to get your body. 3 hours of singing in high energy, you guys know, that's a lot. That is a lot that's a lot out of your body to stay mentally focused, to stay like your stamina stay built up. I mean, it ain't like we're touring and doing this every night. That's how people do build it up, like these people that's doing it every night. We're still doing daily jobs and keeping up houses and kids and everything else. And then we're trying to go out and be a rock star on the weekends. You have to train your body to do that. I mean, it takes a lot out of you. So I totally understand what you're saying about the mental part. You have to be mentally ready too.
We even see a difference going from smaller stages to really big stages. Like,
Yes.
And I'll never forget, I went to an artist development person in Nashville, 15 years ago, whatever it was, or maybe even longer than that. And the first thing, she told us, she was like, would y'all be ready to do a show if it was on a big stage? And I was thinking, what is she talking about? She's like, it's a lot. And it is true, man. You get on some of these huge festival stages and you start trying to, cover that stage, you're trying to put on a show and you're trying to cover it and you're trying to act like you're high energy on a big stage. Whoa. I mean, it's already, like you said, you're giving so much to the song, trying to sing it, give it justice. Then you're trying to do, you're trying to movement, you're trying to do the choreography we do and stuff like that. You're gassed. I mean, at certain points, you're just like, oh my God, it'll start affecting your singing. I mean, because you're huffing and puffing if you're not physically ready.
That's what and that's what I'm worried about. I don't perform like that all the time. So, I want to make sure that I'm doing all of my part to get ready. And so I'm like, probably 2 or 3 times this week and probably next week before we go on, I'll probably be working the whole show, giving it all I've got at the Merle Travis Center, and walking the whole stage as possible, just getting my stamina built up to see if I'm going to run out of breath on songs, whatever, because you got to know, you can't, that is when you're live, you can't just be like, hey guys, let's tone it down a minute. No, you can't. You got people
Take 5.
You can't just be like, hey, hold on 1 second. Let me sit down for a second. So, it does take conditioning, I guess you would think, just like Joe, he has to play. He plays and plays before our show. and his little fingers, they're just like all rutted out because where his strings go.
They stay rutted out.
But he has to condition, he has to be ready. And that's what I think everybody, do you guys eat before you sing? Before you perform? No.
Not right before.
No, so like if I'm going to perform, I'm performing that night at 9. So I will make a pact with myself that I do not eat anything past 3:30. And that because we'll set up at 5. So I will make a point that I do not eat or anything besides just, if I need it, maybe a cracker or two just to get something on my stomach if I'm nervous. But that makes a huge difference, I think.
It does. A lot of that time depends on where and what time we're going to be performing, and whether we've had to leave early that morning to get there or whatnot. Try to space it out to where, like you said, that leaves some kind of buffer and eat earlier if possible, or at least lighter before.
Yeah.
But as far as eating and then going on stage, it wouldn't be any way. We would be
huffing,
we'd
puffing,
be gone
heaving,
after
pile
5
of crap.
songs.
Yeah.
Big Joe don't have that problem. He puts it away. And see, we had a show. No, we had a show here a while back, at little lakeside Jamboree. And it was a really, I love doing stuff there. It's really like an old classic place, like this little hole in the wall that's just like got the sweetest little people in the middle of nowhere. But anyway, well, we made this big plan, partially me. Let's get everybody together and eat Cracker Barrel right before we go. Okay. Well, I was the singer for the night, and the problem was I had my meal, which was the roast beef and vegetables and stuff. And then this guy that was with us, he ordered fried chicken. They gave him 2 pieces instead of 1. Well, I wanted to try the fried chicken, so I had some of his fried chicken. And Joe ate some too, and we was just like it was a buffet right there at the table. Yes. I got there. It was we sat about an hour later, maybe. And I tell you what, on the first couple of songs, I had to apologize to these people because I got out of breath singing Reba. I couldn't even hold my breath. I was just like, I am so full, guys. I am so sorry. And, and there for a second, I thought I was going to have that strawberry shortcake, and I'm glad I didn't because I wouldn't even got out the opening. But, it made such a big difference. I couldn't even hardly eat that night. Then this girl wanted me to get out there and do electric slide, and I tried that. Of course, I about passed out because, I was just so full. I messed my whole stuff up that night. So I was like, well, that shows that my plan's right, that you don't eat before you sing, because it made I couldn't get enough breath. Like I was so full. You just could not get breath to belt it out and sing. Uh-huh. And so I'm definitely not eating when we do our next big gig. I'm going to just keep my crackers in my purse or something, because I'll be up there and pass out up there on that stage. And that'd be something. You'll see it all over the news. And
now that gig y'all are talking about, is that going to be a full band show? Or
yeah.
Y'all doing acoustic on it?
No, it'll be a full band on the main show. The main stage y'all played.
Well, that was the other thing about the eating or just being in shape anyway. That's smart on your part to do that for you to be prepared, prepare yourself for it and be acclimated. But also that shows professionalism to the fans too, that you go and give your best performance, to be prepared for that. But like with our show, and then I'm sure with what you're going to be doing with your full band deal too, it's a whole different ball game from sitting on that stool and singing or playing and trying to do something that sounds good for people. What you throw in the mix, dancing around and jumping and, all the action part of it on top of that, man. Yeah. You really got to get yourself prepared.
Even walking around and clapping your hands. I mean, even if you're just not even, like I said, really going over
doing
the top.
Acrobatic stuff.
When you have a 3-hour show, that's a kind of a higher energy show. And it's basically like a sprint to make sure you get to the end. You have to pay. And when we're making the set list and stuff, I'm always like, Joe, you make it out how you think that the flow should go. Cause he's real good at that. What songs should flow into the next. He's really good at stuff like that. But then I have to look at it to make sure it's not like, hey, I can't do that one and then that one, because I'm already going to be pushing my breath a little bit on that one. And I need to chill after that one and then go into the higher one again. So, it's all about, like you said, you get in the best show, even though Oak Grove, they get in for free. That's not your problem. you still should get the best show, because what if someone's there that wants to see you, that wants to book you for a show that has to be paid
Exactly.
ticket? I mean, you
Well,
want to get the
we've
show, but
experienced that a lot.
you know, you
It
never know
don't
who
matter
to
if it's 100 or if it's one. I have played shows to one person before, and we
Yeah.
played our ass off to that one
Yeah.
person.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't matter. They either, whether they paid or not or whatever, that's how you're being represented. And now, especially today's times, whether somebody that might want to book you there or not, which is obviously highly important, those phones are on.
Absolutely. Yes.
And that's going to be out there for everybody to see what
Yes.
you did that night, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's great to get that perform. Honestly, we did a show, Women of Country. That's probably one of my favorite shows that we've ever put on. We put it together. I found some girls here in the county that were all local and like had not sung out a lot. Some of them not sung out in front of people at all. But they never really worked a stage. And when I say worked a stage, they might have sung for their pappy, or they might have sat on a stool and sung for somebody at church or at a karaoke. But working a stage is different. Working the stage means that you actually entertain them, not only with your singing, but your body. You have to give out the body language of what the song is doing. So they had to go through training to be on that show. They had to work the stage for me, and then I would critique them, and then come back and they do it again and they do it again, until I felt like it wasn't so much of a robot, but as more as she's now comfortable to perform on a stage. And, you know, that right there has helped. Like, some of those girls have went on to perform at big things because they had training to get themselves like, okay, but it's just kind of, people don't teach that. Like, it's just like, oh, she can sing. But then there's some people like me and Josie, and I'm just like, oh, bless her heart, but she can't work the stage at all, you know, because it's just boring to watch. Beautiful voices, but they've never thought about it's a whole package that you got to get off to yourself, and you got to make people want to dance with you when you're dancing, because again, it's all about interaction. You stand up there like you're dead in the water, people's going to be out there like, okay, maybe we should go somewhere else, you know? So
That's the entertainer part of it. I mean, there is a lot of ridiculously talented individuals that can sing and play, and, you know, but if you're not doing something to set yourself apart some way, it's better in a live setting. If we're talking about that, you know, you got to entertain those people to give them some reason to go back and tell somebody else, like, hey, you got to come see this, you know, to get that next gig or get more people at the next show.
my God.
And
It is like a gang war down here in this basement. We got a cat up on the bar that's just hissing, and this dog's about to have a fit because the cat's on the bar. Be quiet. We are doing something here. This is our big break, people. We go together.
Yeah, I hope her ending up in my lap some don't take away too much from this, because I have to do that to keep her calm every now and then.
Oh, it's
So I
fine,
have
man.
questions that Joe can answer, because, you know, I've been talking this whole time. Yeah, I do talk a lot because I'm used to, you know, being Joe has all the details and the facts that's true and everything else. I'm just more along the lines like what you want to hear. So,
So I'm gonna let them ask some questions.
yeah,
So-
ask us some questions. True or false? Go ahead.
well, I was going to say too about, you know, not only does the singer give a part of their soul, you know, when they're singing. I think guitar players give a part of their soul when they're playing. I mean, it just, you know, when they close their eyes and they go back and they do that thing, and they're opening up their whole, you know, the way they feel through that guitar. And it's, you know, you really do. You give a part of yourself to people. And that's why it's so hard sometimes to play a room. And me and J Rob have played a lot of rooms over the years with other bands and stuff. It's been a lot easier with this show, but with other bands, you know, we used to be in and stuff, and paid a lot of dues for, you know, a couple of decades. And I mean, there was a time when I played to a janitor that was sweeping the floor of the place. So, I mean, we've had a lot of high highs and a lot of low lows. I tell folks sometimes I lived in the penthouse and sometimes I lived in the outhouse. And there wasn't a big difference sometimes between the two, you know.
Right.
But you give a piece of your soul and it's devastating sometimes when it becomes very grinding if you go for several weeks and it's only your inner self that knows you're doing good, knows you're, you know, you need that from people, because you're like, man, I'm giving you something, at least acknowledge a thank you for it, you know.
Right.
You may not even dig it, but it's kind of like giving a Christmas present or birthday present. You're giving something, you know, to somebody, and whether they like it or not, you're just hoping that they'll be thankful for it.
Yeah.
Well, it's something with that comes with age too. I think, or experience, maybe not necessarily age, but you know, you have those kind of shows like that, really get that much response. And yeah, do you still love singing or playing the guitar, or, you know, whatever your instrument is, you know, you're doing what you want to be doing, what you love to be doing. Yes. But if you're trying to perform and entertain, you're trying to have some kind of a lack of real good explanation. I'm sure you guys probably all know what I'm saying, but an out of body kind of coming together spiritually sense with the people you're playing with, but also with them people out there watching you, all as one right there, right then. And if you're not really getting that back, sometimes it can hinder your ability to give your all into that performance. And you know, you got to kind of check yourself sometimes, be like, all right, yeah, I know they're not rushing the stage yet, but they might later. They definitely won't if I'm not putting everything I got into this to them, you know. And then sometimes they'll come around later on at night, but yeah, that can be tough when they're not really giving it back to you.
And then sometimes you can be giving your all and have InEars in and not know that the out front sounds like shit.
Yeah. You got that too.
Years because we like wedges. That fact.
And
Like,
you're wondering,
I can't do it.
You're wondering why
you're
everybody's
thinking,
got this weird look on their face, and
Yeah.
you're like, man, you know, is this not their bag? Is this, you know, are we not their bag? And then you take the InEars out, and you're like, good God, it sounds horrible out there.
I wouldn't be cheering them either. No, but hey, look, I'm with you guys too about that. I prefer to be able to hear an amplifier and hear that air being pushed. I mean, but I will tell you this, I had used InEars years ago when me and Derek was in the band together back then. And, you know, we were still playing with amps and all that stuff too. So I'd keep one out so I could hear that amp blasting. But it'd been a long time since I'd played with that again until we done this show where we pretty much require them now. And the in-ear unit I'd been using the past 2 years, I just have not been able to get it right. Like, it's just something I got to live with, you know. And the tone wasn't there, the mix wasn't really there. Just worked and beat my head against the wall. This thing, I upgraded to a different in-ear unit. I already had some really good buds, but and let me tell you, this is the difference from listening to a wore out 6x9 speaker or going buying a brand new Bose system. I'm talking about this is going to be okay now. Like I'll be all right with it. So I don't know how much y'all tried to fool with them, but if you're ever interested in doing it, I highly suggest getting one they're costly, but it's worth it.
They are.
Just like everything, like the guitars
and the
amps,
custom
whatever.
molds. You know, make sure it's the custom molds. You know, with the multi drivers.
Those do make a big difference too.
Yeah, not those, you know, made for everybody Sures and all that stuff, but like the alien ears or ultimate ears. Both of those are cost efficient and made to fit your ear and many drivers as you want. You know. And it's very spacious and, oh man, you know, I can't go back to a wedge, not anymore. Obviously, like you said, with this show, you know, we got vocal cues and all that kind of stuff because we're set, you know, with the lights and the videos and all that stuff, you know, but it, you know, I as a vocalist, I got to have, you know, that in ears now, but it will, if you go cheap it'll make you be like, man, I got to go
You'll hate
back to
'em.
wedges. You'll hate them.
You'll hate
Yeah.
it.
Right.
And a lot of folks, they go to Guitar Center or wherever and get the, you know, the 318s, 315s, whatever it is, 415, you know, and they're like, man, I just can't, you know, here. And I'm like, dude, I'm telling you, if you ever if you're going to do it, take a big leap and get the.
Well, it's like a good set of headphones. I mean,
Right.
or versus those buds that come with your smartphone, you know,
Mhm.
and you put these on, like, okay, now I can hear. Let's get something done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a reason all them big dogs is wearing that stuff, you know.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, and it keeps the stage so much quieter too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
one of the big things. I will honestly say I'm one of the few guitar players that people have had to say, I need you to turn up. I mean, so
I'd
Nice.
probably
Yeah.
in that closer to that category nowadays. Now, nobody ever asked for more volume from me years ago, for sure.
Right.
But I was still breaking my back with half stacks and
Right.
412s and 100-watt amps and all that
Mhm.
jazz. But
That's why we're both walking around going, huh?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Huh?
Well, Joe plays in earplugs. I don't know how he hears, like, he plays every show in earplugs and everything. And I mean, I can't even hardly hear, I mean, without them. So as far as like, I feel like it would hinder that, but he hears everything.
He's lowering the dBs.
I think it's what you're used to, because
Yeah.
I have during sound check and stuff like that, and when I've had batteries die during the show and have to yank out the plugs for a little bit,
Right.
and the drums and stuff are so freaking loud, like,
That's
man,
Mhm.
I couldn't, I don't think I'd be able to take it on a whole stage
Yeah.
full of amps and stuff no more.
yeah,
But
like I
it's
say,
been a long time since I've had that much blasting at me too.
and even on stages, where the stage is not terribly loud, but
Yeah.
I'm standing with my left ear pretty close to a crash cymbal a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And that's what gets you. But I got some plugs that are called erasers, and they look like they've got little antennas coming out of them, but they're about the best ones I've seen that lower the dB, lower the sound pressure level, but they maintain most of the frequencies that you want to hear coming through still. They do a pretty good
I
job.
see. They still letting something go through, like a
Right,
baffle or something.
It's not just like it's throwing a blanket
Right.
over you.
I got
so.
you.
But the thing is that we want to have fun. We want to make music together. We want to have fun. We want to meet people, make friends with it, have a good time. Everybody that comes to see us, we want them to leave there knowing that they had a good time. That makes us happy. We enjoy it. It's not about how far we're going to get. It's not about that. We always say, somebody will ask us how much we charge, and sometimes we'll say, I tell you what, if you feed us and pay for our gas, we might just come because we like to eat. I mean, it's not about that. It's about me and him spending the time together, doing it together, having fun together. You got to know the lane that you're in and what the goal you have set for yourself. We are all family people. I mean, I just want my kid to graduate college, start her a good life on her own, be successful in that. That's my goal at this point in this life, and me and him to travel and spend the rest of our days really happy.
Yep.
I have nothing that I want from Broadway in Nashville. There is nothing that I want there. So it's. I think we're all in that of, let's just do what makes us happy at this point. Make some money along the way. Get to meet people, travel, eat really good food, have good times to look back on, because we can't do this forever either. So, I mean, that's where we're at. You guys might want to get to Nashville and make it big. I'm not sure.
No, we're
We're
done.
past that.
I know I
Those
am.
dreams. Yeah. I mean, I had those dreams too, younger. Like, I just knew that I don't ever remember thinking Nashville, I mean, of course I played rock music most of my life up until lately, but my goal was like, I want to make enough money that I can be comfortable and travel and play music. That was my definition of making it, and that's still conceivable now, especially with what we got going on now. So
Right.
Yeah.
as far as being on some type of a bought spot on the charts, or any of that kind of stuff. And I could care less, and fame and stuff like that. I'm perfectly content leaving the gig and nobody knowing that I was the guy that was playing.
Right.
I'm okay if not, that I almost prefer it that way these days.
Yeah. I think we're all in that of like, and I think what we are trying to accomplish at this point in our lives, I think we all are doing that pretty much. It's basically, it's doing what you love and making enough money to keep you going with it.
Sure.
And, we're blessed with what Joe makes on his regular job, that this isn't what we have to do for income, but we do well at it. And it's enough that we can continue to keep doing what we're doing and to travel with it and things like that.
Right.
And that is good enough for us. I mean, that is good enough for us because it's all about the experience we have together performing and going to and meeting like people like you guys. Like, I can't wait for the show at the Merle Travis Center. It's going to be our friends that's performing. And like we get to say, we're so glad that you get to meet our friends, the Dukes of the Country tonight. It's music brings people together of like minds. And some people are out to do it different. And there's some people, I think, as we all are, that are just there to have a good time and lift each other up and make sure everybody's successful. Everybody gets a piece of it. And we have a good time with it. And I think that's where all of us are at. And I'm glad that I'm at that stage, that I don't have any other expectations, but then to have a good time and make a little money and go out to eat with it and travel and do what we're supposed to be doing with it. So,
well, I got tied up, and again, we'll get back on track with kind of wherever y'all want to go to, but I got tied up and caught up for a while, and I enjoyed it, but I have to play for a name. I have to make a name for myself. I have to play for a star. And I did. And I've played for a few, steady with him, but I've got to back up either once or twice or something like that, several others. And it was great. But there were times that it came out of my mouth. I told her, I said, I don't think I can keep this up, because it got so exhausting, traveling and just going and going and going and going. And being up on that stage is the reward, and the rest of it, again, not that I didn't have fun, but I'm like, I'm kind of ready for this to be fun again. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, and two, and this podcast has helped, which, we try to all be students of the game of our profession here, and see other, tidbits of other people's careers and what they're going through and what they went through to get to that point, and then what it takes to keep doing that. But me and Derek's talked to some other people that's had those kind of lives, and like, the more you find out about it, man, that's a lot of pressure for somebody to get to a point like that, and to try to keep it going, try to stay relevant, try to keep on, if they weren't necessarily smart with their money when they were on top, trying to keep enough going to get by these days. It's a lot more ins and outs than just like, oh man, if I could ever get to there, I'd have it made. Well, it might not.
Right.
It might be a lot worse than you think it is.
It's a lot more work at that point. And I'll never forget Richie from US. They're a show band around here, and then grinding for 30 something years
at least. Yeah.
And they put up the big video walls and light show and everything, but basically he was like, be careful what you wish for, you might get it. And then you need to, keep it up, and you're gonna have to go play a lot of shows you don't want to go play, and you have to, but that's what you wanted, that's what you made your business to do. And I'll never forget talking to Kelly, the lead singer of that band. They actually came from Canada, and they moved down here, and they've been playing the college circuit in the Southeastern Conference for 30 years. I mean, they just tearing it up, making gumballo's money. I mean, they're killing it. They're all living in $500,000 homes, some of $1 million homes, and they're not even never had a hit song or nothing. They just been playing covers, big show, and but I remember talking to him one time, and he said, man, what would I do if I didn't do this, man? He's like, well, I'd go sell shoes in some shoe department or something, whatever.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm gonna get my ass up, I'm gonna get on that stage, I'm gonna go set up all that stuff, and I'm gonna break it down. You know, he's like, because I don't want to go to the house and sit there and drink and think about what, you know, I used to have this, you know, whatever.
Right.
It's a lot of work. I mean,
Yeah.
if you want to be somebody, you know, and if you want to go be Tim McGraw, or you want to go be, you know, Toby Keith, or whoever it is, you know, Guns N' Roses or whatever, you better get ready to sell your ass, because you fixing to give them everything.
yeah.
you got.
Well, it's not just a job; it's a lifestyle.
It's a
I mean,
lifestyle.
The
It is.
road ain't cut out for everybody. Ain't cut out for the road, you know,
That's it.
and all that kind of work and pressure
Well,
and stuff. So it's all
yeah.
what, like you said, what extent do you want? What do you want out of it?
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and then I'm with you. I could be, as far as playing music, I could be just as content going and playing acoustic shows. I mean,
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
just sitting in my studio and writing and recording. That's where my real passion is. But
Right.
you know, I do love to play and the camaraderie enough of a band that, you know, I'm excited and super blessed to be doing what we're doing now. I mean, so
Well, knowing that you can get to do your business and your living, you know, combining the two, you know, saying I
Yeah.
also get to get up there and do that, but I do have to do a lot of setting up and a lot of breaking down and a lot of traveling, you know. The fun part is, like you said, the on stage part, you know.
Oh yeah, that's the part, you know, we all say you get paid for all of the rest of it. That's
Yeah.
the
the show's free.
there, you know,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep, that's right. That's right. But to know that you can build a career doing it, and what me, I know me and him have said this back and forth, get out of this business what we've put into it all these years and maybe get paid. I mean, even already we've seen a lot of good kickback of stuff that I was trying for, and I made my living doing Trademark, my other band, for, you know, 17, 18 years. I mean, I had a family and did it. But like I said, there was times where I was living in the penthouse, and there was times I was living in the outhouse, and, you know, had
Right.
to save for those weeks where I only got, you know, $150 for that weekend, and then turn
Mhm.
around the next weekend and get, you know, $600 or something. And then, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
but it was
I
just a
think to the
lot of high
point-
highs and a lot of low lows, you know.
The point that Joe's touched on, though, or one thing that makes me think, with us doing this, we're making a decision to take this gig, that gig, how
Mhm.
far do we want to go out, how much is it worth to go out, this, that. He and I talk daily about these things, and we're making a decision to do that. I'm assuming, 'cause I hadn't played with anybody at all the stature of the folks you have, Joe, and rightfully so. I'm not the guitar player you are, but
You're phenomenal. I'll back you up on.
thank
So,
you, but
I'm
whatever.
the best singer in the world either.
But when you're playing for somebody else like that, you know, you're like on call, pretty
Yes.
much like, hey, we're going such and such night. Well, then you got to drop everything you got going on in your life and go do it. You know,
you ain't kidding.
Well, and
I
that
mean,
brings
that
me,
makes a big difference too, regardless of the money.
yeah, I mean, that's one of the points that, where I got, that I finally had to tell Joe when he was playing with John, and we had a good time.
Oh,
We
yeah.
did. I ran his merchandise table, and Joe done the stuff there, and I was the one out front. I was mean enough to want to be like, keep moving when people wanted to linger. You know, it didn't bother me. But the part that I got to the point is Joe had to play in Orlando for the Thumb-pickin, the Merle Travis thing. So we took we had a foreign exchange student at the time. We took them to Orlando to have like a little getaway, because it pretty much was all paid for except for like our flight down there, because he already had a hotel room and everything provided. So he done that thing. We had the girls. Okay, here's what happened. We literally had to fly back here to an hour and a half away from our home, and we drove to our house. We dropped our girls off within about 30 minutes. We left, drove to
Yeah,
Texas.
rent one-way rental car to Tyler,
Drove
Texas,
to
because
Texas.
the flights wouldn't work out.
Yeah.
So,
Because we had to be down there by that night, right?
that evening to play, yeah.
So we landed that morning, had to drive to Texas that night for him to play on stage with John. And it was just the point of, trying to get our kids home, get the kids home, get everything situated, repack, get his stuff in the car, get a rental car, get gone. And of course, being Orlando, then on the plane, then back here in Kentucky, it was a little bit colder. And then we went down to Texas. That was really dry. I got extremely sick, like head congestion. I mean, I could not breathe. And I was just so sick, but the show had to go on. I mean, here we are on the way to Texas. So within 24 hours, then we played that show, but then he had to be in Nashville to do Kid Rock's birthday party.
Yeah, it was official.
By the lunch the next day. So we had to either get in a vehicle and drive all night or get on a charter plane that they had chartered, like a jet, and go straight to Nashville. And then it was just, you got to think that was within 36 hours. We were in Orlando, Indiana, all the way here to Kentucky, to Texas, back to Nashville, then to the other spot he was supposed to play in Tennessee.
Yeah, that evening at the Johnny Cash Museum.
Within a 36-hour window. And I was just so sick, like the change in all of but you still had to keep going. So we were in that whole hour and a half meet and greet. I was just so sick. By the time we got done, he literally was taking me to a Walgreens to get me enough dope to sleep to where I could breathe. And I told him, I said, I will not continue to do this. This is not the life for us.
Yeah, it was.
You can keep going out if you want to, but this was not fair to Shelby. Right. It wasn't fair to me, and it did not help you at all. And but he was supposed to play. Yeah, he was on the roster. He had to go. Yeah. I mean, there was no getting out of it. This was planned, and this is the way it had to go down.
Yep.
And that's what you do. Now, if someone calls, he decides if he wants to play for them or not, if he wants to do a show. And there's been shows that I've said that's going to get you nowhere. You shouldn't do it.
Yeah, I try to pick and choose.
Honestly, don't do it. It's just a waste of your time. And there's no reason for you to try to make it work just because Joe wants to be the nice guy. And that's Joe's problem. Yeah. Joe wants to be the nice guy and help everybody out and puts himself out. And I'm finally like, you're at an age and at a stage to where you should be able to pick whatever you want to do and how far you want to take it.
Yeah, I'm almost 30 years old.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
Joe, you want to do a pickup gig tomorrow night?
But no, I totally agree with what you say. Yeah. We are at that point where we get to decide where we go, what we do, how much of ourselves we have to give up to do it, and how much our family has to sacrifice for us to be able to do it. We think about that, like if there's something that's important to Shelby or Shelby would really want to go or wants to do this or that, we try to work it to where also, our family and our friends that support us, we want them to feel like they, can go and do and not have to sacrifice every time of like, hey, we're leaving, we're going to play this, we're going to do this, so I'm great with the stage that we're at. And playing for those bigger people, he has done that. But it's not all it's cracked up to be sometimes. We loved playing with John and Alicia. Oh, yeah. We're still friends with them.
Yes.
Love them dearly. They called us tomorrow and said, we're in desperate need. Can you please come down to Louisiana? We would be in a car because if they called to say that, then they really did need us down there. Yeah. But, and different people that he has played for. But it can be too much sometimes. And John will even tell you now, we had lunch with him here a while back, and he said, no matter what happens, 2023, I'm taking a break. Yeah. He's tired too. I mean, he runs every day, but he's got to keep up with it because if you go silent for a week, you'll be forgotten. Yeah. And that's the way this world works. Yeah. And, you can be on top 1 minute, and if you aren't just giving it everything you got, and this is not your every breath that you take is about what this business is, then you can kind of just get lost in the news feed. And that's a reality. So, I mean, you're in it, just like he said, you're in it all the time or you're out.
Yeah. So, you've got a one window shot and you make the best out of that time that you've got to really do it. And then that's, you better have a backup plan or or something else at that point. And once it's done and it's over, then you kind of like at a regular job though. You know, a lot of people think, well, you need to go get this regular job. Well, guess what? They're going to take that part of that life from you if you allow them.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
and so it's kind of cool to actually be somebody, you know, and I get it. You know, here's the thing. John Schneider, millions of dollars was put behind John Schneider a long time ago, you know, so he can live the rest of his life being John Schneider and doing things that John Schneider wants to do and make his living being John Schneider, whether it be through music, through movies, through appearances, whatever. You know, if there was, you know, that kind of money put behind, you know, Joe Hudson or you know, Charles Derrick Young, you know, we would all want to we would want to capitalize on that and be, you know, make our living with that, you know, for as much as we could.
Well, our band's proof of that. I mean, we're dressing up and singing songs from people that millions of dollars were put behind. I mean, that's part of the reason
Giving
it
them
works.
a time period. Yeah.
You
know, and the songs that you're singing, like I said earlier, everybody wants to be a part of them because that's what they were raised on. That's what they remember. Every song that you play has a memory for somebody.
Yeah, and we're putting that video with it too, that they, you know, remember from back then, and whether it be through movies or whatever, and you know, doing the characters and the CB radios and all that stuff. But that's the thing. It takes, and we've said this at the very beginning, it takes money to make money, but it takes big money to make big money. You know.
Oh yeah.
And you know, big money was put behind that stuff a long time ago, more money than any of us have, you know, and it makes people, I'll never forget. I talked to Michael Knox when we went to Nashville and we played at the Wild Horse Saloon, my other band. And he told me, he said, look, you know, hits are bought, you know, and that's Jason Aldean's producer, you know, he said, man, hits are bought. You can have the best song in the world, man. He's like, but until
streets of Nashville are littered with them.
Yeah. He said, man, there's people around here writing, I mean, fantastic songs, people that are just awesomely talented everywhere. He said, but you know, the thing of it is, until the right, you know, people, and they call it pushers, you know, with these labels and all this stuff. And they push that stuff, iHeart and Cumulus and, you know, TV and, you know, push it down everybody's throat. That's the reason when they go play that amphitheater, they know it's going to be packed because they done played it 8 times during the drive times that day. And it was on TV, and this person was on that appearance and this late night show and blah, 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 blah. You know, hits are bought, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of money put behind John Schneider a long time ago in a lot of ways. And, you know,
and he had the talent to keep it going and make it happen. You know?
And I will say that John is probably, out of a lot of people that Joe has played for or played with, John is very, very humble and appreciative. I will say, I've never seen somebody care about people that are fans and are willing to spend money getting his autograph and things like that. He generally cares that each one of them spent that $20.
Oh yeah. Yes.
And he realizes that it probably was a sacrifice of some 20 that had to come from somewhere else. Because be honest, that's what his fans, you know, they're not just the millionaires off the street coming to see him at a Dukes Fest. They're working people. They are hardworking people that's coming to see him. And he realizes what that $20 means to their family, and they're willing to give it up to get a picture with him. Yeah. He's not going to let that go unnoticed. And I think that is some of what has carried his success this far. And that is why people still want to do meet and greets with him, because of the experience they've probably already had with him. John is definitely a humble guy, and he generally cares for people. He really does care for people. And he sees a side of it that I am a person. I've just got a lot more opportunities than others. You know, I've had this opportunity and this, and I got lucky in this, and he does not allow himself to forget that. And that right there makes somebody, you know, somebody that you want to go see and meet and hang on to, you know, and that is just really who he is. I mean, that's the genuine person that he is. And So if you ever get a chance to meet him and do things like that, you won't forget meeting him.
Right.
Because of the way he treats you with respect as much as you're giving him. He treats you the same way of like, you're the reason why I'm still going to this. You're the reason why I still can do this, is because people like you pay your $20 to come see me to get a picture on your phone. So, I think that's a big thing to have nowadays, like that is that humbleness still.
One thing, if both of y'all could say, since we never really covered for people that are going to tune into this later, what, tell me, I guess on Joe's side, starters, who are some of the people, how'd you get started? Who's some of the people that you did have played for?
Sure. I'll go through some of the ones that I've played for first, and then we can go into a little bit of how that came about and so on. Obviously the one that I played for the most was John Schneider, and played for him for about 4 years, and try to make it as quick as I can on how that came about. I went to he had advertised on his fan page, he and Tom Wopat were doing a Kickstarter campaign for a Christmas album. And one of the things you could do through the Kickstarter and it wasn't a bad price at all, you would get like 2 signed copies of the album and a limited VIP meet and greet at John's place with them, front row seats or preferred seating the show. And I was like, man, that's really cool. So a friend of mine and me, we split it, went down there and did it. And I was like, man, this is really cool. So through that, I had met John's publicist, Barry Rogers, at the time. Great guy, and still does a lot of stuff for John too. So not too many months after that, I saw John Schneider fan cruise advertised. We love going on cruises. So I said, hey, I'm checking this out. This would be cool. So I sent a message, and Barry was sent back. He said, hey, I see you're affiliated. And I remember you talking about being affiliated with a music center in Kentucky. We're actually looking for sponsors for this cruise as well. And I'm like, well, it's going to probably be a ton of money. Won't be able, probably won't be able to do that. Well, we talked, and it was very reasonable. So, basically we split with the Merle Travis Center the cost of that cruise. So the Merle Travis Center wasn't paying for our cruise.
So they paid for Joe's part, and then I paid for my part, basically.
For in return, the Travis Center logo being used at all his events. We were able to use his endorsement and different things and so on. So how everything came about, back to seize an opportunity when it's there. As musicians, as performers and different things, one of the things that drives me nuts that she was talking about is people that don't promote themselves in a tactful manner. But we all have to self-promote and tactfully be able to take advantage of opportunities when they arise. So I sent a message to Barry, we got everything taken care of. I said, hey, if John's going to be doing an acoustic set or anything on the boat, I always bring a guitar, man. It'd be great to sit in with him and play for him. And he said, well, I'll tell you what, he said, send me a resume, some things that you've done and some different links and different things, and then I'll take a look at it. And because obviously anybody could say, I want to sit and play guitar with John.
But well, can you? Yeah.
Right. And he got digging into it and had saw some common people that I was associated with that John had been working with. He called me back like 3 hours. He said, yeah, you're going to be playing for John on both. So I did what I do. I went, listened to all John's number ones, learned them, looked at other videos of him playing. I'm like, well, he's going to probably do this and this and this and this and this. And like we did Country Girls, and he went into it, and I played the signature lick, and he's like, oh, he knows it already. So long story short, we got to become friends on there. And then he invited me to do another event with him. It was going to be a Cineflix movie tour. He's like, hey, do you want to go and do this with me and us do some acoustic things together? And I was like, yeah, that'd be great. So what had happened in the meantime before that is I got invited back down to his place to his next Christmas show, not to visit, but to open up for he and Tom, and they did their jazz thing. So it just kind of kept snowballing from there. Well, the Cineflix tour, it got postponed because the flood happened. So instead of that, we were originally going to do a promotional video for that tour. She and I go down to his place after it had been flooded. So we still did a live video.
They've been home for 2 days. They had been on a trip somewhere,
Right.
and they got home they had been home maybe 2 or 3 days when we got down there.
So it turned into, we went down and helped clean up, and he was just exhausted, and he was like, hey, we still got something we got to film. So we did that in his living room of the river house, which is where they were living at that time. Water still dripping from the ceiling.
Muddy.
So,
We were all muddy. We'd only brought good clothes because he was going to perform and do a video, and we'd only really brought good clothes, you know. So here we are in our good clothes and rubber boots we borrowed from people and cleaning out drawers and laying out pictures to be dried. And then when everybody went home, they decided to shoot that little promotional video. They did it live from his flooded living room. And there was mud all over the floor. Me and Alicia were covered in mud.
Sitting in the floor.
And water was just dripping on me and Alicia from the ceiling and the walls and stuff, where they had to like pressure wash the house from the mold and everything, like the mud all the way up. And there they go. So, and that began that was probably the first beginning of our true friendship of we've got each other's back. So it was very humbling to see him, you know, just his whole life was drying on the yard. I mean, you know, there's nothing he could do about it. And he was just counting on people like us to show up and help him put his life back together. And from then on, well, that's where it is. You can help him fall in love with Joe, though. When you meet him, honestly, Joe has that personality.
Well, you did.
And that way, I know. I didn't like you at first.
We'll talk about that in a little bit.
Anyway, but he does. He's a genuine guy. If, you know, he will help anybody out. And they just hit it off. Their stage presence together was just amazing and captivating. Like, finish each other's jokes and not even meaning to, and high five because they hit the licks right. And he tried to throw Joe off and sing something whenever, and Joe would be ready because Joe will be prepared for anything. If he's to play with y'all and fill in for something, he can't sing, bless his heart, but if y'all needed somewhere for him to fill in, he will be ready. He will have his homework done. He will not fall short on his account, you know. So I think John picked up on that. So but anyway, so here we are. We're after that.
Right. And so we went down, did that. Not long after that, we did and I'm trying to remember the exact order of this, but he did an album called Ruffled Skirts that had a lot of songs about the flood about it. We recorded it in the living room of the River House. He had some guys from the band LaRue. That's a really great band from Louisiana. Some of them came in and played on it. I played guitar on it. Another fella came in, played a little bit of guitar on it as well. And we did that. We did a flood relief concert. And that was the first thing that I told her. I'm like, wow, this is really happening.
Johnny Lee was there.
Johnny Lee was there. Alicia called. She said, hey, can you be in Branson Saturday to do a flood relief concert with John? I said, yes, I can. That was like midweek. So got to play for John at that, of course. We did it acoustic. Johnny Lee came out. That was a highlight in itself of getting to play Looking for Love for Johnny Lee. I was like, man,
awesome.
This is all right here.
Yeah.
Nice.
And he had Stacey help him with his guitar strap for about 20 minutes.
That dirty old man. He knew what he was doing. He couldn't get his guitar strap on.
But
so I had to
looking
help
for love in all the wrong places.
He was funny too.
Yeah. But it, you know, it just kind of kept growing from there. You know, we ended up, I played the Grand Ole Opry with him, you know, played a few times. Don't know if you can see this or not, but this, I'll ease it on up. Is that close
Grand
enough?
Ole Opry. Yeah.
That is the first time that we played the Opry, and that was at the Ryman. And you talk about a humbling experience.
Man,
that was a why am I here? And I thought, thank you, John, because he didn't have to do that. But honestly, I did work for that. But this is one of my favorite pictures from that night, too.
That's our baby.
Yeah,
nice.
She was a little young.
Nice.
She was so proud of her and Daddy that night, you know. She was telling everybody, which she should be. She's also got to have different experiences because of, you know, Joe playing and things like that. You know, he played the Opry and he's played for Tom and Tom Wolpat.
Yeah, played, you know, John played for Tom Wolpat some. The first time I played for him was at a Bose Extravaganza. The first Bose Extravaganza we went to was a whirlwind because there were some other band members that were supposed to show up that didn't. Several things happened that weekend. I ended up backing up every artist that was there that weekend.
80-something songs.
It was like 80-something songs.
That he had to learn in 2 days.
So
2 days he sat in that camper and learned 80-something songs to back up.
yeah, so,
I was just like, oh my! I kept bringing him sandwiches.
and I'm sitting in there writing the charts because I mean I can't learn 80 songs.
Sure.
in 2 days.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there. Most of them I was familiar with, so I'm sitting there. Nashville Number System is my friend these 2 days, but got to play that time. Of course, played for Tom Wolpat some. Now that was just on a whim, and have worked with him a little bit. Some past that. Got to play for Paul Overstreet that weekend. Got to play for Kix Brooks that weekend, which was really, really cool too.
Bo Bice.
Bo was the next year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I got to play for Bo Bice the next year, and that was just Bo had came up and saw Tom Bresh and me do a set, which is Merle Travis's son. We got talking. Bo's a super nice guy. He's like, "Hey man, I got to play Marty. You want to play for me?" Got to play for Joel Sonnier that weekend, which
he was great.
We loved him.
We would love to have him up at the Merle Travis Center. He does the accordion.
Yeah.
And
yeah, are y'all familiar with Joel very much? Or
I've heard that name before, but I don't know a lot about it.
Tear Stained Letter was one of his big songs
Okay.
that he originally did. But Cajun Squeeze Box legend, but him,
he's great.
And even prior to John, a lot of this has transpired because of learning thumb style guitar and being able to be versatile. But more than anything, Steve Rector, who was my first and still my mentor, we're still great friends. He learned that style from Mose Regger and other people. He taught me not only how to act around people, but as far as he put some people in my path as well. Now, it wasn't John, but he introduced me to the Chet Atkins Society. I didn't know anything about that till I got into thumb style really heavy with him in 2008. Through that, I got to play for Bobby Bear, which was
who just got a star this week on Nashville.
That was an incredible experience. One of the neatest things we got to do, and I had mentioned this a little bit before, not on this podcast, but in that same show, it was a tribute to Chip Young and the songwriter Paul Kraft. So Bobby Bear served a dual role in that. Chip had passed away, and this is probably, if I'm going to get emotional, this is where it'll happen. But Chip had passed away, and I got to spend a good amount of time with Chip. Chip came to Nashville with Jerry Reed. Great friends, to say the least. Chip also was one of those people that you never knew what he did by talking to him, but he played on a lot of the Statler Brothers recordings. He played on rhythm on a lot of Elvis's recordings. There's a story, and y'all may know about it. There's a story where a gun got kicked through a guitar in the studio when Elvis was showing people how he could do karate and kick a gun out of someone's hand. Have y'all ever heard that story?
No, I'm not.
Iconic story. Might have been some, infused drinks involved on some of them's part. But long story short, Elvis was in a recording session and some people got talking about Elvis's karate and everything else. He's like, well, if I pull a gun on you, what can you do? He said, well, I can kick it out of your hand. So somebody pulled a gun out on Elvis. Just in that joking point. He knocks it out of their hand. It goes through a guitar. It was Chip's guitar. Chip was there on that recording session. You'd never know it by hearing him, until he really got going. But he played on a lot of Dolly's recordings. The thumb style part on Jolene, let's see here, where you hear the intro to Jolene, it's a, let me get.
I'm trying to get up on that stage. I can't see your guitar, babe.
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
I don't know how well you can hear that. That was Chip and Wayne Moss on that. And that wasn't very clean because I just picked it up and tried to play it cold. But Chip showed me that. So where I'm going with that is when Chip had passed at that Chet Atkins convention, and there's a video of this on YouTube, Chip's wife had asked me to play Jolene and she wanted our daughter, who was 11 at the time, to sing it because Chip loved hearing, he got a kick out of Shelby singing Jolene. So that really was a big, big highlight for me to get to do that for someone that I genuinely loved as much as I did Chip, who was one of the sweetest people in the world, but to get to honor him on that stage with Shelby.
Man.
You know, that was awesome. It really was. And Stacey being there and everything, that was great. But you know, that some of those things, and through the thumb style too, got to meet Steve Warner and become friends with Steve. Now, when I say friends, we don't talk in buddy all the time or anything, but when we see, when we see each other, we were like, hey, how's it going? Hadn't seen you in forever, all of that. He's a busy fella, but got to do some recording with him on some things for John, you know, and several different things too. So, you know, that's a few of probably the more notable ones, I would say.
But we don't make a point to throw those names out either. That's just I don't like the name throwing, because so down in Joe's, this is Joe's spot down here. This is the man cave that designed for him. Each wall represents something else. Like over there is where his Duke's guitar usually hangs, and the Duke's guitar is back here for right now. But it has everything that he played with John, like some of the best moments back there. It's all framed on that wall. And then back here is who he's got to meet, like Vince Gill and Bobby Bear, Tommy Emmanuel, people like that. And then the Merle Travis picking, and then of course Steve Richter has his wall on the Grand Ole Opry wall.
I got a Steve picture here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and the fella sitting down with, I'm trying to get this, the fella sitting down with sunglasses on is Steve Richter, and that's my very good friend still and thumb-picking mentor for Merle Travis, Chet Atkins style music. He's still with us. His health is not great, but he's still kicking around. The fella standing up holding the guitar is the reason that I got into that style, is my dad. And Dad's still around. Dad's still around too, and I love picking with him. And I'll talk a little bit about that. And one of the other things that was on the wall, this was when I had spent, and actually this was Chip when we were going through Jolene, sitting in Chip's sunroom in Nashville.
Nice,
man. That's awesome.
So would you consider him being one of your big mentors?
Chip, probably more of just, you know, sometimes I'll say mentor, but really I'll say more influence. Because, you know, I look more at the mentor of really being Steve, because I spent so much time with Steve.
He was our teacher.
Yeah.
Chip Young is more of, for Joe, like if he goes to play a song and something and he knows that Chip played on it originally, like he'll say, I've got to get that how Chip played it.
Yeah.
Like you don't make a mistake. If Chip played it on the original, then you do it right, or you don't play the song.
And I didn't really get it right earlier because my hands were
but that's what I'm saying. Like he has so much respect for him as a player and what he has taught Joe and the times that he got to spend with him, that he won't do anything that doesn't honor him 100%. You know what I'm saying? So
but yeah,
that was a big thing for him.
It was. I mean, and one of the things too, and we would joke because there was a lick that Jerry Reed had showed at Chip one time, and Chip would call him up and he's like, Jerry, I think I got it. And Jerry'd go, that's not right. He'd hang up the phone on. And so Chip would say, I'd get back to working on it. I'd say, Jerry, how's this? Hey, you still don't have it. He'd hang up on him. And Jerry was just messing with him because Chip said, come to find out, you know, I had it the first time. Jerry just liked being Jerry Reed. How Jerry Reed was in Smokey and the Bandit, he did not have to act. That was one of the things Chip said. He said, that was Jerry. He said, just fun loving all the time. But
I saw that on some other interviews. They said that dude was such a trip to be around.
Yeah. I never got to meet Jerry Reed. I wish I would have never got to meet him, but I've been fortunate enough to talk to and be very good friends with a lot of people that knew him really, really well. You know, Bobby Bear, Chip was talking about that. Jerry and Bobby, they love to fish together, and they'd go out, they'd be out for hours, and Jerry'd go, hey, Bear. Bobby go, yeah, Jerry, shut up. That'd be the only thing they'd say. And then 4 hours later, they'd say something else.
The fishing thing with him was something I can't remember what I'd heard that on now. It was, I don't remember, it was a YouTube video or some interview I'd heard, but there was a song of his that Elvis wanted to cut. I can't remember the name of it, but
Guitar Man. Maybe
that may have been it. But the cat that was playing for Elvis, I don't know, was it Scotty Moore?
Yes, it was either him or James Burton at the time. It might have been Scotty.
One of them.
Heavily influenced the thumb style, matter of fact.
Oh yeah, great guitar players. But for whatever reason, it wasn't suiting Elvis with nailing that particular song, which, you know, the ace Jerry was, who could. But they said something about that they had somebody to go out and find Jerry Reed, and he had been out on some long fishing trip.
Yeah.
Tracked him down and got him come in the studio, hadn't shaved, you know, had been out a while, hadn't been playing for a few days. So he, you know, called himself Rusty, but brought him in to come and play that track for Elvis's version. I thought that was pretty wild.
It is, you know, and those stories like that are great. You know, Chip talked about that, and you know, on the song "All the Golden California," you hear that spike driving at the first of it, and Chip was in there for that. You know, they were like, something's missing. He goes out to his truck and gets a couple wrenches, and that's what's making the sound on that ting, ting. So stories like that are priceless. They really are. You know, through the thumb style and everything, someone else I had got to be really good friends with too, and he played on Jolene with Chip also, is Wayne Moss. He's one of those people, some people may not know who he is, but when you hear the intro to Pretty Woman, you know right off the bat who he is, because he's the guy that played it. He played guitar on Bob Dylan's Blonde on Blonde album. He played on a lot of things for Dolly. The lead break on Only Daddy That'll Walk a Line for Waylon, that at that time, that lead break come out, people were just like, my gosh, what just happened on this recording? That was Wayne Moss. Super, super great guy. So, I mean, it's been good, but like she said, you know, and I don't care in a setting like this to talk about it some, you know, I didn't create those relationships. I've been fortunate enough for those people to be placed in my path, but I also value them very, very highly. And there's others that I value very highly too. And one of the things that where she was talking about that I just get tore plumb up, I see people that just lie to try to promote themselves. Yeah. It drives me berserk. I mean, and I know, but it drives me nuts.
He will go through Facebook, and I have to remind him, just because they're Facebook famous, don't mean nothing. Let them be Facebook famous. Right. Who cares? If that's how they sleep at night and they feel like they've made it, let it be.
All that comes out in the wash later.
Yes. But it drives him nuts. He's like, well, they really didn't do that. I'm like, you are not the principal of who gets to put what they did. Just let them be.
No, that's hard to keep up with. I get it, because you'll hear, you know, I've seen people on the internet before and talk about, well, so-and-so played this or that on the album, or somebody told me something about some studio musicians played these or that licks on a Skinner album, let's say. Yeah. I'm like, no, they didn't.
Right.
I've been studying that since I was a kid. They didn't do that. But why argue? You can't make, you know, you can't make them believe it.
Now, one of the other people that I have got to play with him one time, and I may not ever get to again, but you talk about a highlight and scared to death at the same time. I got to play with Brent Mason in 2011. Nice. And Brent and I have got to be pretty good friends. So we'll talk every now and then. We text every couple of weeks, all that. Great guy. But I was playing rhythm for him. It was a show here at the Merle Travis Center. And again, the opportunity thing, he was bringing a 3-piece band, who that's all he needed, because he sounds like there's 5 of him when he's playing. But I said, man, you know, do you want a rhythm player? And he said, well, you got anybody in mind? I said, Brent, I'd be honored to play rhythm for you if you're interested. And it was funny. He said, yeah, I'm okay with that. And he said, let me send you a song list and everything. He sent me a song list. And he called. He said, "You've been working on the songs?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, I'm just going to be honest. I've never heard you play or anything." He said, "So you're either pretty good or really, really brave." He said, "On some of these songs." I said, I'll try not to let you down. But like she said, I mean, I spent hours and hours and hours working on because some of those songs, rhythm's not, Sugarfoot Rag, and some of those, it's not 3/4 rhythm on them. But so we got in sound check and we did Limehouse Blues. He turned around, looked at me, he said, "Take one, Joe." And I'm like, "Son, it's do or die right now." And when I got done, he said, "Play on anything you want to play on." And I about fell over. But I had worked my hind end off to get to that point. But when we're out there on that stage, somebody asked me, they said, "So Joe, what did it feel like standing on that stage the first time in Working Man Blues when Brett turns around, looks at you and points at you?" And I'll send y'all some of those videos. I said, "You know that look a possum gets on his face whenever he sees headlights coming at him? I know how he feels now." But
this is your set list.
Yeah, and matter of fact, there's a set list from that show actually in a picture of he and I. So
that's great, man.
But
Nice.
but a lot of that's Johnny Highland and I are good friends. Johnny's a super guy too. But those are the people that I'm fortunate enough to know, but I also realize what I am and what I'm not. They're kind enough to welcome me into their circle, but I realize I don't know 2% of the guitar that those guys know. That's
don't sell yourself short, man. I mean, you didn't trip and fall into that.
No,
it's well deserved. I mean, you most definitely belong there. Or you wouldn't have been. I mean, that is what it is, man.
But they've been really, really kind to me. They have. I mean, and honestly, and this is so we'll get in a little bit, but a lot of some of the other direction you and I were talking about too. The two reasons that I got into that. One, Dad had a 74 model Telecaster that he had bought from a guy that had played actually for Mel Tillis. He had it laying under his bed. Dad strums guitar, does a good job. He sings. I play for him every Sunday I can at church still. But he said, "I've got that Telecaster wheeled to you, but I'd really kind of like to see you play it." He said, "I'll go ahead and give it to you, but I'd like for you to learn Merle Travis and the thumb style." And I said, "I'd love to," because I grew up around it. We're in Muhlenberg County where it started, and I never thought I could do it. I grew up playing Southern rock. I mean, AC/DC is still my favorite band of all time. When we're at conventions and people are like, "Well, who was your big guitar influence growing up?" Even at Chet Atkins convention, I said, "Angus Young." And some of them are like, "Oh, that's cool." And then others are like, "Who?" But
yeah,
I didn't love it. But anyway, so got with Steve Rector and started learning the style. And it genuinely did show me what I did not know about playing guitar, because a lot of the other stuff I was playing was great and fun, but it's just a whole other world. And I'm very elementary at it. But I have Dad to thank for getting into that, and her to thank for getting me back into guitar, period. Had I not met her and gone through some of the things that I went through prior to getting back into guitar, I don't really know where I would be right now. And I'm being very serious about that. There were a series of events that happened that for a while I was like, why did this happen? We talked about one of them not long ago, but now I know, So if y'all, I'll stop. And if y'all got questions of where, what, and when and everything, feel free. So I'll let you drive.
Well, you had a let me look at this, knee surgery.
Yes, and
you were talking about it being a wake up call.
It was that was one of the big ones. That night, I thought my life was over at that point in time.
I did too, because I was the one that had to call his parents, and we were just dating. So I thought my life was over too.
We were dating, and we were goofing around. Someone had brought us back up to, and actually I have never told this whole story to very many people. It was just the summarized version. somebody had played a prank on us in town. We'd been running around. Somebody had wet Stacey down, and it was all in good fun. You know, it was a friend of ours, and I was like, we're going to get him. He was standing at the courthouse in Greenville. And again, keep in mind, this has been back before we even got married.
We've been together 20 years this year.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. So I was still old enough to know better, but you know, still
Still too young to care.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Good song. But so we saw him standing at the courthouse, which is where we all hung out at, you know, and everything. I'm like, we're getting ready to get this dude. So some friends of ours took us to our house at that time, was a half a mile from the courthouse. We filled up a big bucket of water. So I'm ducked down in the back of this truck. We pull up there. She calls him over to the truck. Well, I stand up, throw this bucket of water on him. The bucket goes out of the truck. Tunnel vision sets in. I'm like, I got to get this bucket out of the street. So I start getting out of the truck to get this bucket out of the street. The person driving did not know that. They took off. I come out of the back of the truck and land. And as soon as I land, my life literally changed because my leg, I look down and it's like that. Dislocated my shoulder. It hurt. So, you know, fast forward some, I tore my ACL, PCL, and MCL in my knee. Had to have surgery on it. It does fantastic now. Able to do martial arts stuff and all of that still. It's all great. But that moment, you know, leading up to that, I never felt like I was a bad person or an evil person, not saying any of that. I was just wide open and thought I was invincible. And that was probably the one thing that was like, no, somebody else still got this. So that was a true test to us because I changed then. I went from, and she described it the best, now I'm back there now. But I went from the guy who had never met a stranger. Yeah, I went from the guy that never met a stranger, that loved everybody, that was always fun loving. I hated the world. The world hated me. Life was unfair, and I hated the world. And she is a saint for sticking by me through that. And it took a while. It took a while to pull out of that. I mean, it really did because, and she was just like, look, dude, you know.
We were just dating.
Yeah, she's like, suck it up and deal with it, you know. But we were talking about getting married. We got married, and I had my leg in a knee brace.
We were supposed to go to Pigeon Forge to get married.
Yeah.
But this happened in the summer. We were going to get married in the fall.
Yeah, this happened in July.
And by that time, I mean, we was broke. Like, I'm working at the Royal King trying to keep the lights on, you know.
Yeah,
and there's no work to be had from him because he's broke.
Well, I had been
literally like his legs broken. He can't work, you know.
Well, I had been at my job, and it's the job that the company that I still work for now. I hadn't been there that long, so I used up I only had like a month of sick time built up or so. So that went pretty fast. You know, I used it up. So had it not been for Dad stepping in and everything, we wouldn't have made it. Mm-hmm. So we started getting a little better, and we were out running around in town and kind of making jokes. Hey, help us fund our honeymoon. We need your extra change.
Well, we had to cancel our mountain trip because, I mean, honestly, we didn't have any pay for it.
Yeah.
So we ended up, I asked his mom if we could get married out. They have a really pretty place, you know, just out in the country. And I asked if we could just get married out their house. And I was just going to invite my grandmother and them, and that's it. You know, I still wanted to marry him, but I just didn't have any money. So she made a ham, bought us a little cake, put our name on it. And we got married right there in their living room where we have Christmas at. It was 10 people maybe. And that was our grandparents and them. And we asked everybody if they wanted to contribute to our honeymoon because we were so broke.
Right.
We was like, bring your pennies, bring your change. We're going to take your change or we're going to go on our honeymoon with it. We ended up getting $96, $96, $98, something like that, $90-something. And we had like pennies and change. We went and cashed all that in. And we ended up going to the gambling boat that night with some of our friends and staying the night with them. We shared. We went back to their house and shared dinner and everything because we were so broke. Yeah. I mean, you know, but we're looking forward to, I mean, you know, this year we'll be married 20 years in October. We're actually going to renew our vows at Paradise Park beside Merle Travis's home place, because that place is special to us. So we're planning for that. But when he was talking about, we got married, we ended up getting pregnant with Shelby. And I had known some people that play music in my hometown that's right next to this. Anyway, long story short, they were looking for somebody to play guitar. And I told Joe, I just had Shelby, like I was still in the hospital, had Shelby.
Like a day before.
I said, they're auditioning for a guitar player. I want you to go. I said, you're always saying you play guitar and you play guitar for me, but you need to go. And anyway, he went, he auditioned, he got in that band, and it's been music ever since.
Yeah, and what led up to that, and that was 2003, what led up to that, we went on a date to Opryland Hotel not too long before that. And I knew the guy that was playing guitar, but hadn't seen him in forever. I had been playing, just tinkering around in the bedroom. And I started when I was 13, and I played pretty solid till I was 18, and I never completely put it down. But for a pretty good time period, I just tinkered with it. You know, I wasn't serious about it. So I got up on stage with them and played Give Me 3 Steps. I was like, I can still play this song in my sleep. I played Give Me 3 Steps, and I told her on the way home, I said, I got to be doing that again. So we stopped at that little restaurant in Elton, Kentucky that had the friend of hers she knew that was playing drums at the time. And she talked to him and was like, hey, you know, if you know of anybody or whatever, let me know. But it wasn't too long after that, he called and was like, hey, we're going to have a guitar player, have him come and try out.
Well, I went into labor 3 weeks early.
Yeah. But see, I traded in because before that, all I cared about was street racing, period.
Yeah.
That and I was going to street race the night we met. And I mean, I was hardcore. Like, it was at the point people were coming from out of town, showing up at our house
at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning,
saying, I hear you're the fastest guy here. I want to race you. And here we go. We'd load up and go.
So when I was flagging races at 7 months pregnant,
yeah.
I told him, I said, you've got to find something else.
Well,
because when this baby gets here,
yeah.
I'm done.
Well, and the final straw was I raced. It was in Beaver Dam, Kentucky one night. I went across the finish line doing this, and it was kind of like that knee deal. I was like, you've done it this time. And I'm looking at her pregnant standing there at the finish line. And I'm like, no more of this. So that's kind of where we traded in the street racing for the guitar. And someone asked me one time, they're like, what's the relation between those two? I said it's a natural high that you can't get from anything else. The street racing was a different way, and it was very dangerous.
It was adrenaline.
It was adrenaline. But as y'all well know, there is no feeling outside of watching, you know, and I'm not comparing it to your daughter being born. It's a whole different thing. But there's no better just feel good about yourself high than being on that stage to a musician and having a good night. Right. So
hitting that lead and people going nuts or hitting. Yeah, I feel like that as performers too. When
it is,
you know, when you get that after you finish the song and they have to get up to their feet and clap because they enjoyed it so much. It's just like, you know, kind of like, check, that was worth it.
Yeah.
When check. You don't think about it, you don't have to think about it. You just do. And you're clicking and you can't do any wrong. It's just on.
Yes. And it's like when you get that acceptance on that one song, it's like right after that, you kind of can go on autopilot because then you're just like, I've got him. And so you just do what you do and you just know that it's going to be great, you know? And so,
but you know, from going to, I've got a race, and if nobody was coming here to race, we were going out of town looking for races. I mean, I don't know if y'all watched, we talked about Street Outlaws on the phone earlier, but, on the Oklahoma version, Farm Truck and Asian, they were like, we're going fishing. They'd take their truck out. They're looking for people to race. That's what we was doing. I was going out looking for people to race. Now I'm like, I got to play. And
now we go to eat somewhere and we're like, hey, they got live music.
Yeah, they got live music.
Go see if you can talk to the manager.
But it is, and somebody I didn't mention before that I have to mention too that we've been playing with. There's so many people But Paul Mosley's another one.
He's our little buddy.
He's
You'll
our-
get to meet him if y'all come down to the Merle Travis.
yeah.
Y'all love him. He'll be
Great.
a friend. You'll definitely
yeah.
want to sit down with him.
But yeah, Paul, I mentioned, Eddie Pennington sounded like Merle Travis and his grandson and all. Paul Mosley sounds like Chet Atkins. I mean, he's incredible and just a sweet person. But, I'm backtracking some, but on the people we've been fortunate enough to get to know and be friends with too. Another one through John and Lulu Roman, sweetheart of a
Love
person.
Lulu. Yes.
One of the biggest ones that we miss.
Let me just say something
Yeah,
about Lulu real quick. And I know we've been on here for a while. Y'all gonna have to add a bunch of stuff.
You know
on
who
here.
that is, don't you, J-Rob?
They're just
Listen.
going good.
Listen,
Thanks.
we
Off of Hee
went.
Haw. Off of Hee Haw.
Yeah.
We went to. Let's see. We were doing something in.
It was when we did that. That Randy Travis show.
Yeah, Randy
with John.
Travis.
Matter of fact, keep talking.
We had to do a show somewhere in Tennessee. It was with Randy
It was in
Travis.
Marshfield, Missouri.
Marshfield, Missouri. Okay. But it was for Randy Travis benefit, like helping something, whatever. But all right, so there's Lulu and Randy and all them. But what I want to tell you about the story,
Nice.
here's the story I want to tell you. This is just some of those opportunities where you say music brings you to meet people that you never thought you'd be meeting, And we do take every opportunity. And when we do, I'm not a big starstruck person. Now, Reba walks into Greenville, I'm going to be like stopping the traffic to get to her. Other than that, not really thrilled with, it doesn't bother me. But we go to this Randy Travis thing. Well, the night before, we're at the hotel and Luke says, and Kim says, hey, you want to go out to eat with us and Lulu? And we were like, yeah, great. That'd be great. And they said, well, if you don't mind, Si's going to come with us. And we're like Uncle Si? And they were like, yeah, Uncle Si from Duck Dynasty is going to be with us. If you don't care, it's their birthday.
Yeah, and Duck Dynasty was huge then.
So here we go. And I'm just like on the way up there, I'm like, are you really thinking we're going to be eating supper with Uncle Si? Are we really? Well, we did. And let me tell you, we almost got kicked out of there. That man cannot whisper. He was so loud. And
But
he
funny.
brought his own teacup in, legit, brought the teacup in. And him and Lou had the best of times. And for us to be involved in that and get to share stories with him, tell our stories, him tell us stories, that's the moments that music brings you. And the only reason why we got to meet all those people and us to meet Randy Travis and his wife, who his wife is the sweetest person, was because of music.
Yeah.
It had nothing else to do with what anybody else done. It had nothing to do with Duck Dynasty. It had nothing to do with Hee Haw or the Dukes of Hazzard. It was because we were all at one destination for the music.
Yeah.
And it's just, the opportunities that brings you, you never know who you're going to sit down at the table with,
And that's
So that was funny though. We had so much fun. I recorded him because
I was getting ready to tell that story.
Let me tell y'all.
Yeah, you need to tell that.
there was this horrible noise of this man singing next door all night long. It went on. It was awful. It was awful. I was just like, Joe, you are going to have to call on there and tell them that it has to stop. Like, we have got to get sleep. I went to that. We had a connected door. I went to that door and recorded it because I was going to go downstairs and take it and show them and tell them, you're going to have to change rooms with us. It was sad. Practicing George Jones all night. And it was awful. And I mean, it was like so bad. I recorded it and I was like, this is too much. But he would get to a certain part of the song and start all over.
Get back on, he's having to practice.
Oh yeah. But it was just so funny because I told him, I was like, well, I can't go down there and kick Scott out now. I mean, so we're just, it was just fun time, and things like that. And you want to surround yourself with good people. And that's what music has brought us in. And when we get to meet a friend, or we meet someone in the industry like that, or we make a connection, Joe is really good about keeping those connections. And he keeps up with them. He waters them. He makes them grow. I'm just not one to
But
reach
I
out.
also don't ask them for any
No, we
special
don't ask for
favors.
favors.
That's the,
Yeah.
But, so it definitely seize the opportunity for sure. Like you were talking about Conway's daughter and stuff.
Yeah.
You never know, where that friendship might lead you and who you're going to sit at the table with, because you're all here for the common reason of music and the love for music. And so it's a great thing. It's a great family. You become a family with a lot of people.
one of the other ones, and I was leading up to him too, and of course we're just kind of going off with it.
We're very squirrel.
Oh, we
We're
are,
very squirrel.
yeah. But that was really special to us, probably as much as anybody, and her daughter was James Best.
Yes.
And being from here, see, James Best is from Powderly, Kentucky, which is where the Merle Travis Center is, and we're 10 minutes from there. So we had him back a couple times, he and Dorothy, his wife. I don't know if y'all are familiar much with his wife or anything or not. There's an episode of The Duke where Mel Tillis was on it, and he had a daughter that was racing a horse on there. That's James Best's wife. And that's his widow now. And sweetheart of a lady. But we had them at the Travis Center twice for him to do his one-man show. And he would sit on the stage and talk about his movie career and everything from the beginning, like from the Twilight Zone and on. And just an incredible man, really. But he and Shelby were big buddies. She cried, which we did too. Shelby cried like a baby whenever he passed away.
And she was still elementary
And
school.
she was still in elementary. That one was rough. Because I have video of him and her in the living room at our other house playing the Wii. Wii bowling and Wii tennis, and video of them fishing next to the house and everything. And I mean, just a special person. I mean, he came over that morning, he and Dorothy.
I had to make breakfast.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the intimidation of making breakfast for Roscoe? Because this girl don't make no homemade biscuits. We eat canned, okay? And I don't make gravy.
Bosses lock people up for less than that.
Yeah. I talked to his daddy and I said, is there any way you can come for breakfast with Roscoe? And he said, well, yeah. And I said, okay, but if you do, you got to bring gravy and biscuits because I can't make any. So anyway, so he did that. I feel like I burnt the bacon, and I had eggs all over the stove. I was just so nervous, because I wanted everything to be right for him. And he didn't even care. I told him, I said, I don't think it tastes very good. And he was like, yeah, I think it tastes just good. I think it tastes just fine. And he just couldn't wait to get out there on that little pond we had. Because him and Shelby, they didn't even take the boat out. They just sat in the boat, parked on the bank, and fished from it. Just him and her. And so that was a very special relationship that they had. He just took up with her, and she went to elementary school. They had to do, famous, they were talking about famous people or whatever. She says, well, I know somebody famous. And she told her class about them, about him.
They were asking about people from Muhlenberg County. Yeah. And she said, well, James Best is from Muhlenberg County. And the teacher was like, well, how do you know about James Best? She said, well, I know him. I'm friends with him. And
they were like, they said no. And they called her a liar. And this little kid in there called her a liar. Oh, she came home just fighting mad. She had tears in her eyes. She said, they don't think I know him. Make them videos, Daddy. And so Joe's down there all night putting a CD together about the relationship between Shelby and Roscoe, and took it and said, you have your teacher play that. And then here goes Shelby with attitude into the elementary school and said she wants to give a presentation, and there was them. And she said, I told you I knew him, but
Tell me I don't know Roscoe.
Yes, right. But talk about missed opportunities. You've got to take every opportunity to do something. We actually were kind of trying to decide whether to go. Roscoe, James had wanted us to come down and visit him in North Carolina.
Yeah. And
it was Shelby's fall break or whatever, and we decided to take her to the mountains for a couple of days instead of going to North Carolina. And he passed away a week later. And, we wish we would have made a different decision and went down and seen him instead. So we've learned by mistakes, you don't miss opportunities. And when you get an opportunity and it's important to somebody, then you take it.
And cherish people while you have them. I mean, without that.
For sure.
So we have been on here for like 2 hours, and I feel like y'all are kind of like, woo, we got the can opened on this. And
I think the night's young for them. For some of them they've had. I'll stay as long as they need us to, or whenever they're done. I'm good. So.
Oh, it's
Hey,
man,
good
it's all
stuff.
up to y'all. Yeah, I mean,
let's see, we clicked on how you started playing, who you played with. Pretty much while we started.
hey, and
stuff.
speaking of Duck Dynasty, we actually had a mountain man come to the show and get up on stage and talk back and forth with us and all that.
That probably took an hour, didn't it, for him to tell you?
It was real slow.
It was really cool. He was a cool guy.
He's trading a camper beside us at Bo's, and
Yeah.
y'all. And I was like, I told Joe, I said, Lord, I hope you don't ask to tell us a story. We'll be here all day. I got things to do.
Yeah, we'd come out.
Well, you know, Derek, didn't you?
I've got
During a
video of
break
him
after the show?
endorsing us. Yeah, he
That's
endorsed
what I
us.
thought. We never did play that or put it out there, did we?
Maybe not, but I've got it. Yeah, I can
I
put
remember
that up.
y'all.
But ain't he a great guy though? I mean,
Oh,
he's
yeah.
He's
Yeah.
sweet,
a
sweetheart.
great guy. He does his own little radio show down there where he's at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has a radio show. Y'all ought to call into it sometime.
Yeah. Be cool if we can get him on the podcast. That one would go late at night. I'll be out in the morning on that.
You'll have 2 hours of content for like no.
Well, I will say,
I love that guy though.
I still don't know if they've actually got a proper introduction on us yet
Well,
or not. We just been
You need to just roll with
We've been
whatever
doing
you got,
that.
I think, at this point. But I will tell you,
that's
you
fine.
need to go into that because he likes when people call into his radio show. You need to look into that because I bet you he would love to hear from y'all.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
gonna suck though if we
Probably-
call in. It's like, hey, you remember coming to our show at Vicksburg? Like, no. Who the hell are y'all?
Oh,
Hey, he got back there. Oh yeah, he loved it. I mean, he made sure and told us, he was like, man, I tell you what, the Dukes of Country puts on a great show.
Yeah, he is
He was talking
so.
about he didn't ever go nowhere hardly, and somebody had hit him up and got him to get out of the house. He said he was glad he did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you love real country music, you'll love the Dukes of Country.
I love it. Yes. Yeah, that'd be. He's good. Yeah, you should definitely hit him up. Even send him a message to see if you can't. He won't be. I bet you he'd be on your show. I bet he would.
Oh, I bet he would.
That'd be
That'd be
interesting. I'd
cool.
like to hear that.
Yeah.
It would be.
Well,
Yeah.
all it takes is for you to ask the question. All he can say is
True.
not interested. I say, yeah,
Let's
I'll
do that.
take for it. He's a good dude. He'll do it probably. And I'm trying to think of what else. Now down there, John, he's always down there. That guy that pitches those gators. He's in the.
Yeah.
He don't wear no shirt, but he's got overalls on.
Swamp people.
Swamp people.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I'll tell you somebody that was real nice that we met at John's is that guy the guy, I can't ever pronounce his name right, but he lost his leg on Tiger King. He didn't lose it on Tiger King.
John Reed.
Yes, he is a good guy. And he is so nice. He took up with Shelby. He just talked to her. He took a video for her friends. I mean, everything. Like she FaceTimed her friends.
Yeah, she had video of him and Turtle Man. Of her
Turtle
FaceTime.
Man's funny too. Yeah. Turtle Man's good. There was a friend of his, Banjo Neil.
Banjo Neil. Yeah.
Banjo Man or something. Was
Yeah.
his name. Anyway, he passed away, of course. I hate that, but he was at some things that we were at when Ryan
Mhm.
proposed to Kristen. He was there.
Yeah.
Neil was there in the audience and stuff. So a lot of people it's a small world when you start connecting people. Honestly,
Yeah.
when you start looking at connections, it's a very, very small world.
Well, one of the guys that I got to meet the same day that we played on that Dukes thing for John, that y'all saw the video and everything, one of the people that I got to meet that afternoon working on some other things was a guy named Kerry Marks. And I was familiar with Kerry because he played for Jerry Reed also too. And as far as the world being small, he's also band leader on Grand Ole Opry. as well. And he and I talk and stay in touch a bunch. And he was kind enough, and I don't share this a lot either. He was kind enough, because I'm in the musician union in Nashville. He was kind enough to put me on the list of folks to call to play on the Opry as far as to be musicians. And we had talked about it. And I'm like, I don't care if I'm playing a triangle. And he said,
I might could do that.
Yeah, you don't have rhythm.
I have rhythm. I just don't have audio. I don't have focus.
But he said, oh, I can put you on the list. He said, that's not any problem. He said, now the list obviously is pretty deep right now. He said, but get you on it now, it kind of be one of them things you can just ease on up. But again, just, treating people right. I mean, there's just a whole lot to that.
And his wife.
Yeah, his wife. And back to the favors thing, though, I'm about ready to try to cash in on this one. She's the only person she really wants to meet is Reba. His wife's Reba's keyboard player. And another guy that I know some, but not as well as I do Curry. Another guy plays steel for Reba, because we're sitting there watching Reba, and I'm like, where's Catherine playing keyboards, which I know she played for him, but Mike Johnson plays steel for her also too. But I'm close to cashing in that favor.
I just need a minute with
Shelby.
her. I just need a minute. Honestly, I want to meet Reba. One, she is one of my favorites. But the whole reason why I want to meet Reba is because my mom, I want to meet her for my mom. I want her just to send a video message, like a 30-second video message to my mom that just says, glad you listened, and, appreciate you listening to my music or whatever. Because growing up, my mom, was a single mom a lot, and that was a constant, was country music. And she would play Reba, and the whole world just disappeared when we were going somewhere. It just disappeared. And I feel like that was just an escape for mom, was when she got to listen to Reba and to Loretta and, Patsy, all of those people. It was an escape for her, because she was just belting it out, and she wasn't anybody's mom. She didn't have to worry about rent. She was just in the zone. And I just want to tell her, I just want Reba to just say something to my mom. I want to meet her, because I feel like my mom will never get to meet her. I'm not going to say never, but I really want to meet her for the both of us, so that my mom can kind of say she met Reba, and get that shout out for my mom. So I just need her for like a minute. So Reba, if you hear this podcast, just hit me up. I just need a little video that says, to Martita, thank you for listening.
And I jokingly say cash in favors, but that's one thing that I just try not to do with those relationships, because, people, all of these people that we've talked about now, they have people pulling at them enough, asking them for stuff. They don't people that they consider their friends asking them for stuff either. And I'll jokingly say, well, I'll just try to bribe them to me, but I just can't do that. Now, we thought she would get to meet Reba when John and Reba did that Christmas movie together.
Yeah, I told John, I said,
COVID knocked that one in the head.
Yeah, they weren't allowed.
No one was allowed on set. So.
At least you had to get clearance to get on there with them. So that was my closest in, but
we may work on it, but working on it properly, so.
Now, what was established in 2018 on the wall?
This lounge.
Okay.
Actually, but about how this came about.
It ain't a big long story.
No.
It's Joe went on the road with John to go play a couple of dates, and he would be on the tour bus. So I knew he wouldn't be home for about 6 days. This used to be an empty shell and of a basement. Wasn't really nothing down here. And so while he was gone in 6 days, me and my friend, a girl that used to work for me in my shop, we actually built this whole thing in the 6 days he was gone. So it's got a big bar behind you. Can't see it. It's got a big opry wall. And this is the stage. This is actually a stage behind us. So the Hudson Guitar Lounge was established 2018, which is the day that I actually made this into his studio.
It's an amazing present.
It was.
Well, he's just used to it. He came home one time from playing, and I done I sold our couch, and I ripped out the fireplace and went outside and cut it in half and put a whole shiplap wall, redid the fireplace, had a guy come over and rehook it up, put a big TV up. And then he came in, he was like, well, this is different, you know. So he just used to it, you know. When he left for playing or town or something, I'd be like, well, I did something, so let me show you. And people was like, don't you worry about that? Don't you wish she asked you first? Joe's like, it's free labor. I trust her. I mean, I ain't gonna do any of it.
And I trust what she does. Yeah. When we got this house, we've been in it 8 years, I guess now. I think June will be 8 years. We had another place in the subdivision, really liked the house, but we were kind of in a fishbowl. You know, now there are houses around us here too, but the closest one's in front of us, and he's great, but we wanted something where we had less wasted space. That other house, I mean, the bedrooms were giant in it. The living room was not big enough. You know, it had huge bathrooms in it. I liked them, but we looked at this. This is more practical. It has a practical living space upstairs than a walkout basement. The basement was a blank canvas when we got it. It had a bathroom already in it, which was great. Washer and dryer hookup. So the first time Paul Mosley came in and sprayed the rafters and the ceiling. Then I did drop ceilings and stuff in it. Had a really ugly green paint in a room in there. So off the bat, we acid stained the floor, did all of that, made a little stage on one side, and it was kind of just a big open music room. It stayed that way well up until 2018. And then she went the extra mile and did the counter area, and there's dividers on each side of us here. And that picture I sent you. When you come
down to play that, we'll bring you here for lunch or something.
But it's worked really well. There's a room to my left that has a projector in it, you know, and you know, the whole wall's a screen and different things. But it's worked out really well. But yeah, that was a great present. It's funny because a lot of people ask what she was doing. Is, I mean, she would repurpose furniture, she'd build things, she'd do things like this, and they're like, well, I bet you work your husband to death. No,
I'm like, you don't own those tools. Y'all better quit it.
Now, I am capable of a whole other skill set, but she is better at this stuff than I am. You know, when it comes, you know, my big forte and what I did in a former life was custom car audio, security systems, all that stuff. That's not what I do now, but I do a little bit of it. But that kind of stuff I can do. The bigger building stuff and all, I mean, I'll help her with it if she needs it, but she don't need me.
That's the kind of stuff I do for a living. So I do it at work and at home.
Yeah. So people think that when you build things or you do things like that for people, that your house is probably just like a showcase home and everything's like, I ain't got time to do stuff in my house. Like I'm busy.
A body man. Yeah. It's like a body man's truck's always in private.
Beat up. Yeah. Beat up, needing paint.
It's like I have to take off work and schedule time to actually do something in the house because, you know, but here lately I've just took off work some and but I'll get back to it soon, but it's been good taking a break. So.
Oh yeah.
Do you mind picking up the pad and showing us guitars and maybe a little bit of the room and stuff?
What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna leave it on this big stand. So when I set it back down, it'll be back stationary, you know. So is that my thumb popping back up again? I don't know what it's doing.
I don't know.
It read your shirt.
I'll start out actually.
No, it might not be the prettiest cleaned up right here.
I'll start out with the ones that are here close, actually. This is the one that a fella had built for me.
Nice.
And I had John and Tom sign it. It's a McCullough built in Jamestown, Indiana, and had John and Tom sign it. So once they did that, of course, I retired it. And I actually only played this on stage with John once. And it was during the Duke's theme at his extravaganza. And the reason for that, it's a great guitar and I like it, but it's so cliche for his guitar player to play a guitar that looks like that. Everybody expects, you know.
Yeah, and it don't get played. Honestly, that's one that we just play here. There's no need to play it. I mean.
But this one is the one that I used. I'll get back over where you can hear me. This is the one that you see on the Duke's video at the first of it. This is a Gretsch. This is a Chet Atkins Country Gentleman, but it's a limited edition. This is the only run of the Chet Country Gentlemans like this one. that they did in the orange. Now there were other orange country gentlemen, but this is the 59 reissue. But they did a limited run of these to commemorate a Gretsch display at the Country Music Hall of Fame. So I got this one out of the first batch of those.
Wow.
Now you were in the music video for what was it? Good Old Boys?
Yes.
The remake. It was where everybody, all the stars were in it.
Yeah, when he did the remake, and when you see a guitar at the first of it, where normally on the Duke's opening you would see Waylon's Telecaster, you see this now. So
nice, yeah.
Yeah, I'll hang it back up.
Dude, everybody was in that video. I remember Tanya Tucker was singing in it, and
that was a lot of fun. I mean, that really was a lot of fun. I'm gonna set that down here now.
Hey, Gerald, before I forget again, they had John Conley at the Merle Travis Center not too long ago.
Yeah.
Oh,
what a sweet guy too.
And he sells every time he comes. No matter how many times we had him here, he sells those tickets.
Oh yeah.
Them
I'm
little
sure.
ladies come with them, and he sells rose-colored glasses.
Yeah.
Got to.
Boy, they get them.
Oh,
They
yeah.
get them.
This, and there's a YouTube video of this. This was my 50th birthday surprise guitar that the Gretsch guys brought to me right in my set at the Chet Atkins convention last year. That this gal that's off camera orchestrated the whole deal.
That's a lot of building that I did to pay for that thing.
This is a Steve Warner. It's a Gretsch Steve Warner Nashville Gentleman is what it is. And Steve and Steve's son, who is a great player too, Steve's guitar tech, Jeff Sin, and Gretsch developed this guitar. There are a lot of guys who have done signature series guitars, and it's just like, hey, let's do something. I'm gonna sit down where you can see my face. But it's like, let's do a signature guitar and stick my name on it. This one was actually to Steve at everybody's specs, and he's like, I want one guitar that's just a great all-around guitar. And man, they knocked it out of the park. You can play jazz on it, you can play Chet style on it, you can play rock on it, you can play country on it. I still say this is probably the best guitar I've ever had my hands on. I mean, it's just great. Wow. But I played one at the Chet convention. The fellow Mark Pritchard, that's the head of the Chet convention, he had one. He brought it and let me play it last year. And that doggone my hands, Ray. I don't know.
What's happening?
That's craziness. But it says I'm about to raise my hand again.
I don't know.
But Mark brought his and wanted me to play it. So I played it, and I said, well, I guess I'm gonna have to give it back now. So I gave it back to him and all. Well, I'm in my set, and I'll send you links to some of this stuff. I'm sitting there with Paul Mosley, actually, and just some folks walk in and just interrupt the set, and they're carrying a guitar. And I'm like, oh, great. They brought Mark's guitar back in here to tease me with it some more. And we got talking. He said, there's only one thing. He said, this is not Mark's guitar. This is your guitar. Happy birthday from your wife. And I'm just like,
oh, man, I can imagine.
I mean, but that was, I mean, I appreciated it, but talk about a gesture of feeling very undeserving for a lady to do that. I mean, really, it really was. But, I was happy to get it, but
I noticed you didn't send it back.
Yeah. Well, I don't hurt your feelings, but no, that really was, though. I mean, very unnecessary, but honestly, very much appreciated. But it's a dandy. There's no doubt about it. Let me sit here, and I'll take you on another tour here in a second with some stuff. But it's without. Let's see here.
I love Some Fools Never Learn by Steve Warner and the weekend too.
Yeah, that's a good one. But you can get. So you've got your Chet sound. It only has two knobs on it. It's got a volume and a tone, but that's all it needs.
Simplicity.
But you can go to this back pickup, and it's got a coil tap on it so you can pull the tone knob up on it. And Steve wanted that because then you can put it in Steve Warner mode. Or if you put So I mean, it's got a good little, and I'm just kind of fumbling around right now on it, but it's a really, really versatile guitar. And if you go on over to, let me get it right. Let me see here.
That's loud.
It was kind of loud. So,
I mean, you're rocking out.
so I mean, you can play rock, which I can't play anything right now. That is one thing about me. If I just pick one up cold, I fumble around some. So I apologize for that. But it's a great one. Let me set it up, and I'll show you some other stuff. So this is where it normally lives, and she built that for it. There's actually a picture of when I got it signed down at John's with he and Tom.
Yeah.
That's great.
So you're now Joe Duke.
Yeah.
Bo and Luke and Joe.
This is when I felt like I had finally made it. When I had my own dressing room with a General Lee on the door.
Nice.
There's Joelle.
Yeah, there's Joelle Saunier there too,
Let me see if I can
by
get it.
Alicia. I'll tell you what, let me keep doing what you're
That's
doing.
Joelle. And you need to look him up. He's really good. He's a Cajun king. He's really good.
So this one I'm going to get a little bit of light.
This is
That's
more like
Vince. That's Vince.
he's got to meet.
Yes. Yeah, that's Vince Gill there. And now up at the top, if you can see those, the fellow there on that one is Tom Bresh right here. And then me, you can probably see some webs too.
Hold on, I'm going over. Okay, give me a second.
And then Steve
Because it's-
Warner.
Right there.
Can y'all still see that
Hold on.
okay? Or
And
something?
I
Yeah.
can't read.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is at the top there, that's Paul Yandel. Now the one sitting down is his son, Micah. Paul also very, very missed. He was Chet Atkins' sideman for 25 years. And he also played for the Louvin brothers and several other people. And he was really instrumental in the development of that orange guitar that I showed you, and a Gretsch model called the CGP that was after Chet's original stereo model and all. Just a phenomenal guy and player. Let's see, this was a thing that we did for Gretsch. Paul Mosley and I did for Gretsch.
I think Mike can show him that because I didn't do a very good job at the top.
That was in Minnesota. Yeah, back to the top here that's a Steve Rector in the middle. Ow. Yeah, that was my eyeball.
Hit him in the head with a phone.
Steve Rector in the middle, my mentor, and that was Buster B. Jones on the right, shown in the picture there. He and Jerry Reed were also big buddies. And then Steve Warner, Merle Travis's son, Tom Bresh, who is a hoot and a half. So Tom's another one you need to look up on YouTube. He sounds like there's about 6 of him. And then Tommy Emmanuel and Paul Mosley. And you saw the Vince picture. So we'll keep going for a walk here. We'll kind of pan around.
This is where Opry was. And you burned
I showed you the Opry picture. There's a picture of the Ryman there, and this is the playbill from the first time we did the Opry.
Nice.
2017.
John Conley, Ray Scott, Mike Snyder, The Wise, Ashley Campbell, John Schneider, Connie Smith, Bob Asmore, Shenandoah. Cool. Yep, that's nice. Yep. Did you meet all of them that night?
I didn't meet all of them. I got to meet Mike Snyder, and I got to meet Shenandoah actually, and we'd met John Conley before. but that's kind of just behind the little counter area and everything.
Nice.
That she
How
built.
was Shenandoah? How was Marty Robin and all them?
They were fine. Anytime I've met him and been around him and everything, he was fine. So that's our little wall there, which I've got a guitar case sitting there, but she did the little live music nightly.
Is it Marty Rabin or Marty Robin?
Marty Rabin, I think.
Rabin,
Yeah.
Rabin, yeah.
Let's see. Here's some more. This is where the Brent Mason and the Steve Rector picture was, but there's another picture of Steve, my mentor there. That's he and I at a NAMM show in the Gallagher guitar booth there in Wartrace, Tennessee. Some different. Yeah, I was going to zoom in on this. That was from where we did the thing for Waylon, redid the Good Old Boys theme there. That was our little lanyard.
Nice.
And
That's just
a plethora of others. Yeah.
Nice.
Hand sanitizer that a local distillery here made. Let's see here. Like a few years ago, James Best and my dad, and of course me, and then my dad and me again. And then this is from the Women of Country show that Stacey was talking about. And there's Shelby.
Yeah.
Stacey made these for each one of the girls that was in it. And it was really cool because she had them a picture done and put their name on it.
That's awesome.
Nice.
And kind of some of the award stuff here and some of the other little things. Let's see. These are kind of hard to see without.
President's Award.
Yeah.
Thumb-picker of the Year Award.
Yeah, President's Award from Thumb-Pickers Hall of Fame, Thumb-picker of the Year for a couple of years. They're tough to see without something behind them on a camera.
Man, that's some impressive hardware right there, brother.
Trying to
Heck
see.
yeah.
And thank you, by the way. This was Everly Brothers tribute duo that I played with for a while. That was in Florida. And I was playing there. That's a Gretsch CGP that I mentioned that Paul Yandel had helped design for Gretsch. And that was actually the first one that Gretsch made that got released to the public. They sent that one to the NAMM show in California to display it. And then when Paul Yandel passed, which that was also humbling, his son said, hey, there were two guitars that Daddy wanted somebody to be able to have an opportunity to buy at a decent price. And that one went to me, and then Steve Warner got one. Because let's see, probably the most special guitar in here is this one.
Go out some.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got to get a little bit close. But.
I mean, you're just like showing each.
Yeah, I'm like, here's the dot. But that's a Lotus, which is not a big high dollar guitar or anything.
Look at that.
The cool thing about it. Look at this little thug.
Yeah.
Look at this little thug when he was 13 at Christmas getting
That
it out of the
mullet.
case.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Would not have dated you back then.
Yeah, you would have. I was a
No.
hunk.
Woo!
That's just one of my Gretsch acoustics there
It's a gun cabinet.
in a guitar holder that she'd converted from a gun cabinet.
Nice.
Where
I
you
like
record
that.
it?
Yeah, and this is a little sloppy right now because I was getting some stuff together. I've been working in here some today. It's actually very sloppy, but this is that's my little setup where I do guitar tracks at remotely. I actually just threw this off of there, but that's my little interface. I've just got a little Antelope Zen Tour interface that I use, and my little Yamaha monitors and all. And it works though. It works pretty well. My first amp that still works, a little PV Backstage Plus.
Nice.
I got that when I was 14. Let's see. This is a good one here.
Yes, sir.
That's a 66 there. Yeah, I figured you'd like that one.
Oh yeah.
I've got some others tucked away too that I can't dig out quickly, but let's see here.
Yeah, and you're gonna have to like him down, show him
Yeah.
the house.
Well, they wanted to see it. This is
Hey.
the one for if you get a sound man that don't like guitar players. That's the Softech MiG 100. It's their Russian copy of a Marshall JCM 800.
Mm-hmm.
It is loud.
Yeah.
And that's a 74 Fender Vibrasonic reverb there. Now I will show, yes, I got one for every day of the week. I will show one more and then I won't dig anymore. Oh, this is my granddad's Basset Hound. He passed
Not
away.
the real one.
Not the real one,
I
but
think you got his dog here.
my granddad passed away when I was 16. He had that little dog by his bed. Now, this amp was on the road with Keith Whitley and Brooks and Dunn. This amp belonged to Lou Toomey that played guitar for both of those guys, but it's Music Man 112 RP, but mainly used it for Brooks and Dunn, but that one's it stays right there. So that's.
Well, we appreciate you having us on your show. I don't know if we're ending this or what, but
Pleasure's ours. Thank y'all
Pleasure's
guys.
all ours. Y'all were great, just like I knew it was going to be.
Well, I do seriously hope it was what you wanted, because I mean, sometimes I'm like, did we go the direction they wanted us to, or did we just give them 2.5 hours worth of useless blubber?
Well,
if it's useless blubber, if y'all had a good time, we had a good time.
We did. We
hopefully
really
some
did.
people will watch it. If they don't, it's still going to be cool.
right.
Right.
Well, this is honestly what would happen if you guys came early. This is what we do on the back deck when our friends come over. We might have a drink, or we'll have, Joe has coffee up there, and we sit on the back porch and we just shoot the breeze. This is normal. This is what we would act normal.
And I'll play.
And he plays. He brings his guitar out and picks a little. If he plays a song, you sing it. If he don't, then we just keep talking. It's just kind of very casual, but very like, it's just open.
That's cool though, man. I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all so much.
Oh, no problem.
I told her after we met, I said, they are good folks. I said, I'm going to be friends with them people. So,
Yep.
I'm that.
Yep. We
feeling's
kicked it off
mutual.
right off from
Both y'all.
right off from the jump. Yep. And Joni is the same type of person. It's almost like there's not a lot of people like that anymore,
Mm-hmm.
And when people come together that are like that were raised like that, it just, it's perfect.
Well, it's clicked. It's like
It's
people you known your whole life.
Right.
Family,
Right.
like-minded folks,
That's what
like-hearted
I
folks.
said. When you get people together that are of like mind, like you just said, and all they want to do is have success, but also see the ones around them succeed too. All the egos are gone. It's all about just, actually helping each other, giving each other a hand, helping the other one up. And we all want to get to the top together. We all want to be at the top together. It's lonely if you're there by yourself, but there's some people that don't matter. They'd rather be lonely by themselves than help everybody else up with them. And I just don't see it that way. If we can help you book something, or if somebody asks me, say, hey, you need to talk to them. You need to talk to the Deuce Country. They're good. Mm-hmm. This is the kind of show you're looking for. We want to promote you guys as much as we, if we can see an opportunity to promote you guys, why wouldn't we?
Oh, yeah.
If we didn't, then we aren't really your friends. We are just out for ourselves. We're like, no, we're going to take that gig. No, if they fit them, then that's who you should act. Right. That's who you should promote. Your friends and the people you believe in. Hey, your festival's coming up. I'm telling you, you want a different experience that nobody's seen around here. I'm telling you, get them. It's a whole show. You do nothing, book them. They do everything else, and they are the show. And so, it just takes somebody to give you a shot. It just takes one person to say, I'm going to give them a shot. And then the next person will be like, hey, they were at so-and-so, so I want them in ours too, so it'll happen. It'll start just kind of trickling down. We've just got to get that right opportunity.
Well, it's like I told you, the only thing I don't like about y'all is that I'm not standing up there with you dressed like Brad Paisley playing rhythm behind him.
If you get in a band, I'm done playing. I'm just gonna walk around like Hank Jr. and point at
No,
everybody and
sir.
hold a microphone.
No, you do.
Show your rings off.
Yeah, just show rings.
Yeah.
you do what you do quite well.
Hey,
y'all all do.
You
Y'all
pack
do
around,
great.
you pack
We
around that
appreciate it,
big
brother.
And now, if you don't have to play, you can really be Hank.
Right? Yeah.
Pack
I
your
may just not show up.
When you're done, you can just leave 15 minutes into the
Right.
show.
Show up late and leave early.
Yeah.
Now y'all have got seriously, y'all have got a perfect dynamic on that stage with what you've got. I mean, y'all all do great. I heard you comment about you sing, and you sing just fine, you know. So
I appreciate it,
Appreciate it,
man.
man.
you do. Y'all do very, very well.
I think Stacey hit the nail on the head. You know, we've talked about it before. It's a $1 million idea. You know what I mean? The Dukes of Country, the classic the classic country show, and all that. But you don't have to be the most talented people in the world. But if you get what you're trying to sell, and you maximize your strengths and not expose too much of your weaknesses, you're going to sell. It's going to sell. And
Honestly, you guys are selling a gimmick, and that's exactly what you've done, and that's exactly why people.
But it's a high quality.
No, I'm not putting that down. I'm not putting their quality down. I'm saying
No, get it.
They put themselves out there
It's more of
as
a
a niche
Yeah.
and again of like, hey, here we are dressed up, all these people dressed up in these costumes, and we're standing beside this General Lee, and we're going to come play in your area. You come see us, and hey, and yeehaw, and this is the song.
That's great.
And then all of a sudden you're like, I don't know what this is, but I got to go check it out, because it's just that human nature of saying, I don't know about it. I'm going to go check it out.
Well,
and then when you get there, you're like, holy crap. It's like the perfect country band. If we would have got to play, if we would have been around back then at the bar, that's what they would have played. That whole playlist is like everybody's fishing in the dark playlist when you were going out. I mean, as it is. And then you catch yourself, caught up in the costumes and in the
the dancing and the CB radios and the videos and
pull yourself out. Like Joe even said, he said, I had to go to the bathroom, but I didn't want to leave because I was afraid what they'd play next. I want to hear it.
Yeah.
He said, I couldn't pull myself away from it.
And I don't watch.
And he doesn't watch. He does not watch acts. Usually we do not watch a lot of musical acts. And anyway, I was kind of checking in and out, but I could hear, and people of every race, of every age was singing along to your show.
Yep.
Even if they weren't at the stage, they were singing along because you played the songs that have meaning to them. So kudos to you guys. Yeah. You've wrapped it up. You've done exactly what you meant to do. Now you just got to put it out there and get it to the people that need to start booking it.
Well,
that's what it is.
Well, she showed me, when y'all were going to be over there, she said, check this out. And I'd never heard of you. And I looked and I'm like, I'm like,
I said, what the hell is this going on at Oak Grove? That's what I said. I'm not going to lie.
And I told her, I said, you know what? I said, I got to go check this out.
We pulled it up, and Joe and Shelby and her boyfriend was here, and he's country as a turnip green. Yeah. And we pulled it up and we were laughing, and I was like, what is this? Yeah, and Joe said, exactly I'm going to check it out. And I said, well, we're going. And so he sent the message. We showed up, and again,
loved it.
We were like,
loved it. Yeah.
We went home, and on the way home, we were like, those people have succeeded in selling all of that show. Like, you're just like, how did I even love all that? Like, it was just a whole thing that sucks you in. So all it takes is them to see your show and they're hooked.
Yeah. You done got the dog.
And I told her, I said, I don't know if this is going to be like the coolest thing I've ever seen, or if we're going to be saying, what did we just watch?
Even if it's a dumpster fire, you got to take a peek.
Yeah.
You ain't going to ignore it.
But I mean, I'm very
what a dumpster fire.
you know, Stacey came up there because she couldn't hear y'all a lot at first, you know, because she was in the back there winning all that money.
Yeah.
But she come up, she said, how is it? I said, you know, I said, they're freaking cool. I said, they're playing great stuff. I said, and I can't stop looking because I want to see what they're going to do next.
Well, our daughter, she sent me a message. She said, so how's the show? And I said, honestly,
it's great.
You should be here to see these people. I said, they've got the lights, they've got the costumes. I said, your dad won't leave the stage. Yeah. And she said, Dad, watching? I said, yeah. And I get to, because he was like, I'm only going for 30 minutes, you know. I'm only going to stay for 30 minutes to an hour. Yeah, so no, I don't want to be here all night.
I told her, I said, I don't want to be there at 1 in the morning.
And so I'm like trying to spend all my money in the first hour because I think, you know, I've got a curfew. And then here I'm almost out of money because we're in it 4 hours because he's over there talking to you guys. And I'm like, I thought you weren't staying. He's like, I know.
Said, but they're really nice.
He's like, they're real cool though. Are you okay with staying? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'll see you in a little bit. But yeah, so definitely, I think you've got it. I think you guys have got it. I can't wait to see where you go with it. I can't wait to see. And if there's places we can travel to, and I mean, we don't care to show up and support you guys. If we can travel there.
We were going to try to work it out and come to Panama City Beach.
Yeah, we tried. Oh my goodness, we tried. And
well, y'all didn't miss anything but a really cold, windy day. So it was a good thing you didn't make
Panama City. Yeah.
When that picture that I showed you, that Everly Brothers tribute duo, when we played down there, it was at Martin Theater, and I don't even think it's there now. I think the hurricane may have got it. It was 34 degrees when we went down there and played that.
I was gale force winds or whatever they called it. I thought we were going to get in a hurricane. I was so scared. I was like, I don't want to be here.
I said, it's too cold for hurricane.
The weather was perfect a week before that show. I mean, it was like, all right, summer is fixing to be here. And the week of that Arctic blast come over the whole country, and it was like freezing and windy.
Yeah.
Well, that's what
we played and had a good time, but you know, it wasn't ideal.
It was so windy, it blew my wig across the parking lot of the hotel. And we couldn't find it. And I had to do the show in this ball cap right here.
I saw you wearing your ball cap, and I actually thought, because you could tell the wind was blowing, and I was like, you know, I bet he ended up wearing his ball cap because he was worried about the wig blowing off.
You know what? It
blew off
wouldn't have stayed
before.
On.
Yeah.
We're going to have to get some wig glue.
Yeah.
You keep playing in conditions like that.
He found that wig the night after we got in.
I found it.
What you gonna get?
I found that wig. Sure did.
There was a bar separating that wig from the ocean about as wide as my finger, and it was hung there on it.
Oh my!
It was on its way to the ocean.
I see a joke. So a wig flies into a bar.
Well, thank you guys. I'm actually heading on up. I have to put away some food and stuff that I made right for this. So
thank y'all.
Yeah,
so
much. Y'all so much.
Thank you. Yeah,
can't wait to spend some time with y'all in person.
Yeah, well, I can't wait.
Yeah, this one actually belongs. We won't stay long. This one come from Steve Rector. This is Gallagher here. That Gallagher company in War Trace built for Steve in 1998. I got it from him back several years ago. They gave him another one that's the production Steve Rector model, but I love this thing. I normally play Gretsch. I've been endorsed by Gretsch for about 5 years now, but I love this thing too. So
that's what I've aspired as a young man, as a guitar player, is want to be endorsed by somebody at some point. And
it came through the Hall of Fame. It wasn't even because I was playing for John or anything. It come through the Hall of Fame, and I just developed a really, really good relationship for them and all, you know, with them and all that. And a lot of people are like, well, no, where you got all them Gretches? They give them to you. No, they don't. You know, the way it works, you get artist pricing on them, right, which is a discounted price, but you know, I am loyal to them. I mean, I don't play them because I get artist price. They're killer guitars. I mean, they're great guitars.
Yeah, I mean, the only way you can go with somebody like that you're not really in love with the guitars is if somebody's just literally giving them to you for free. And even then, it's got to be worth a crap to play, you know?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Which what's funny, the one that I play the most, and y'all have seen in some pictures and stuff too, is that little gold top one that looks like a Les Paul. You can buy that guitar new for $499. And I have used that thing on more everything than probably any guitar I have. You know, I'm not going to take that Steve Wariner guitar and throw it under a bus and go all over the place. No. But that thing, it's great. It does a great job. But, you know, same time, there's a lot of great guitars. You know, a good old Telecaster or Strat's awfully hard to beat too. So's a Les Paul. You know, right. There's some dandy guitars out there. I'm gonna have to play something with this thing in my hand. I'll play the Muhlenberg County National Anthem. Oops. A little bit of Merle Travis stuff there, but
that's we left that record button on for a reason.
Hi.
Yeah, I knew that we left that record button on for a reason. Perfect way to lead out.
There you go. Well, I'll play one more that's not as sloppy. Maybe one I do like playing a lot is that old Terry Gibbs song, "Somebody's Knocking." That's a real good one to put.
Love that tune, man.
Great version on it. That's a fun little. I like that one. So
love it, brother.
It's almost like hearing through, you know, what 2 or 3 people playing is what it sounds like. What that Thumb-pickin, you know.
And like I said, that's what it was originally designed for. You know, what was that kind of stuff? And you know, you talked about Scotty Moore and everything, you know, and all that. You know, that mystery train lick. You know, but Chet did a version of that. She and I'll do Eastbound and Down. So
Heck yeah.
That's great.
Heck
Man.
yeah.
Great.
it's fun. It's just it's a fun little style. But
Yeah, I mean, like I say, it just sitting here listening. If I wasn't watching you, it sounds like 2 or 3 people with acoustics.
Yeah.
It really does.
and when you hear guys, I mean, I would look up, like, if y'all hadn't seen, look up Doyle Dykes, Tommy Emmanuel, and some of those. My goodness
I've
gracious.
seen Tommy Emmanuel's name a lot on some videos of Joe Bonamassa's blues cruise and stuff.
Yeah.
But I wasn't really familiar with his work, but I assumed he was great because he was hanging out and playing with Joe. So
Oh yeah. Tommy, I mean, he's ridiculous. I mean, he really is, but he's just so humble. And every show that he plays, he talks about, Merle Travis and listening to Merle Travis and Chet Atkins when he was growing up in Australia and all. And he's another one out of all the ones we talked about. I mean, when he's in, I'll meet him in Nashville. We'll go drink coffee.
that's awesome.
He's a super, super guy, but he probably is the best walking, especially at that style, but he can play a lot of other stuff too. But when you get to that level, there's so much who's better and who's better. There's not really a better, they're different. I mean,
Exactly. That's exactly right. Everybody's just a little different.
yeah.
Yep. That's it. There's just different styles, different, approaches to the styles. There's, I mean, you can't really do that. It's all a preference.
Tastes. There's different taste of what people dig too.
Right. That's right.
Yep. I mean, you can sit there all day long and tell somebody, you hear somebody say, well, Bret Michaels can't sing, from Poison, but then, thousands of people be like, well, I love Bret Michaels.
Somebody likes him because he sells out every place he plays.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean,
I've told people, I'm like, I'm not the biggest Luke Bryan fan in the world. He probably don't care.
He don't care. He's gonna have a sold out crowd. I promise.
He's laughing all the way at the bank with the money of the people that didn't like him.
He'd be cool to hang out with, though. He seems like a great dude, just
Probably.
From read about all that and what he's done with kids and everything else, So
I know it. Yeah, his autobiography thing, documentary, that they did on that IDMB or whatever, that new app that's on there. It's real good, man, about his story, because his brother and his sister died, his sister at different times, and his sister, they're raising his sister's kids, him and his wife now. Real cool story. Really, really cool. I respected him a lot more after I saw it, because I was like, I didn't really care for music too much. But then, watching that, it was like, oh man, love him. Respect for that dude.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, shoot, I am going to ease off here.
Man, thank you.
Out of the house, but we've been on here a minute or two.
Thank you for the conversation and the playing, man.
Yes, sir.
Can't wait to talk to you again.
I feel like I kept y'all too long, but
oh no, brother. This has been all worth it. That's for sure.
It's been fun. And we'll do round 2 sometime. But
y'all fellas have a great night.
Y'all too, guys. Appreciate it a lot. Hate that I kept you this long, but it's been a ball. So
it's been a pleasure, man.
Don't hate it. We loved it, dude. Y'all have a great night, and I'll talk to y'all later.
Later, fellas.
Y'all get some sleep. Be careful. See y'all.
All right, brother.
All right. Thank y'all. Bye.